Ever have that one friend who loves something you know nothing about? Something you wish they could explain better? Well, this isn't that show. Welcome to Drunk Fandom, the show where we have a drunk host explain something they love to a sober guest who is clueless.
Drunk Fandom contains swears and other not safe for work content. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. The Fierce Ferrets do not condone excessive drinking, but if you do, please drink responsibly. Enjoy the show!
Alright everyone, it's that time again. It's Drunk Fandom here with me, your host Jen. I am the sober one tonight. I'm here with the very talented Wombat Baron, aka
Aww.
Jack. You are, it's true, you write all the spoops. Spoopy writer Jack. I'm gonna be hearing about The World Ends With You. So, Jack, what are we drinking tonight?
So we're drinking, twisted teas mostly.
Nice.
But I got some whiskey like Jack and Coke in the chamber if it's needed. And also, because this is a thing I do with everybody when I do an episode, I have a shot of vodka ready because I would like to do a shot of something with you. You don't have to drink vodka. Vodka is my preference.
Yeah. So anyone who's listened to me record, I am the lightweight of the group. So I did shots. I think I did shots for Resident Evil and Silent Hill. And Silent Hill, I don't even remember recording. So that's how much of a lightweight I am. I don't actually remember recording it. I turned to Luke a week later, like, who's ready to hear about Silent Hill? And he looked at me and went, Jen, we did this already.
I remember you did a shot with me when we did the monster episode, which was...
Did I do a shot?
You did, but it was like... Well, you didn't really do a shot, you took a sip. I did the shot because you didn't...
I'm taking a sip again of a twisted tea, actually.
Yeah, awesome. Twisted tea buddies! Yay! Alright.
Tell me one.
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
Now I get to stare at it for the rest of the episode and now we're drinking.
Ugh. Hang on.
No. You good?
I'm not dying.
Oh, good.
Ugh.
That would definitely... The episode would definitely be cursed. For those tuning in, this is actually the second time we were recording this episode. We faced a technical issue. Originally, Sandwich was supposed to be the host for this. We faced a technical issue and all of the audio was lost. So this is take 2.
I literally have done this once before with Sandwich.
You're getting that sense of deja vu. The feeling this has happened before.
You know, it's really funny to me. And Deacon, don't you dare cut this out of the episode. I started reading the Bell Jar once, and I didn't finish reading it. I literally only just started. It was only like a few pages in, and there's a part where like the main character is at a bar. And she orders vodka, and she was like, yeah, you know, it doesn't really taste like anything. And I'm like, that's because they gave you water. Like, you didn't, like, I'm somebody who, clearly, because every single time I do a shot, it's vodka, I'm somebody who really likes vodka and, like, vodka-based drinks. And I can tell you, it tastes like fucking nail polish remover. It doesn't.
I mean, like, you know, me, the lightweight, can tell you every alcohol tastes terrible. Why do you think I'm...
Oh, because twisted teas are delicious.
They really are. Please sponsor us.
Please do. I would like a lifetime supply.
Right?
Yeah. That would be amazing. Oh my god. So yeah, there's a question I should ask you.
I'm ready.
So, what do you know about The World Ends With You?
Literally nothing. I have seen artwork of a single character, to which I thought it was Kingdom Hearts. Well, I don't know if that's because I saw a Kingdom Hearts inspired artwork of a character. I don't actually even know, like, I don't know what the game looks like. I don't know what console it's on. I literally never heard of this game until you mentioned it.
Alright, so I'm going to be like spamming you, like, there are 3 things. I made graphics for when I did it with Sandwich that I'm just going to post so you can see them, so you know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
So, the reason you associate it with Kingdom Hearts is because it's a Square Enix game.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's Square Enix and Jupiter did it. So that's a really good reason. Like, actually, the characters from The World Ends With You were in were in a Kingdom Hearts game, Dream Drop Distance, which was on the 3DS. And World Ends With You was initially on the DS. It got not that long ago, I want to say like a year or so ago, it got a port to the Switch. I do have it. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten around to playing much of it, but like, I nearly cried when I found out that there was going to be a port to the Switch. So if you're familiar, for anybody listening, if you're familiar with the Switch version, because I know that there were some changes and they added some stuff to the story, the story I'm talking about is like the core, like, game that was the original game.
Their story, yeah. I'm guessing.
Yeah, so like there were a couple of different versions. There was, I forget what the middle one. Yeah, I forgot what the second one was. But there was another version that came out, and now there's one for, like, they did a port to the Switch that they added a character, and there's like some more to the story, but I don't actually know anything about that because I haven't gotten really into it. So, which is why, like, back when I was doing this with Sandwich, and I was like trying to jump back into the game, I didn't play the Switch version. I went back on my 3DS and I played the original version of it. Yeah, so this is the original story before they started adding and tweaking stuff. So yeah. Excuse me.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm. This might be the drunkest I've ever been for a drunk fandom.
Listen, I'm ready to hear, why is the world ending with me? What's going on there? I'm
Okay.
Oh wait, I lied.
Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah.
Why do you like this game so much? What does it mean to you that you've decided to come here and do this drunk fandom?
So, like, this is one of those games that, like, and as I go, hopefully I do a decent enough job that you, like, understand what it is, but, like,
You're
the
drinking,
message...
Jack.
I know, exactly. So, like, so when I'm sober, I'll go back over it with you. But, like, the thing about this game is, like, when I first started playing, because this game came out, God, I was like maybe 19 years old.
You said Game Boy Advance, was it, or was it later?
No, it was the DS.
DS. So yeah, you had to have been, like, knowing our age difference, you would have been like 19, 20-ish.
Yeah, exactly. So I was about 19 or 20 years old when this game first came out, and it was one of those things that, like, I played it during, like, my boyfriend at the time got us both a copy, and we were playing it at the same time, and just, it was one of those things that, like, I played it at the exact time that I needed it most because of the message behind the story, like, and everything. And then to this day, there are parts of it that still get me super emotional and give me chills. And, like, when I was doing the research originally, like, when I was explaining it to Sandwich, it was this thing where, like, I realized just how much I needed to, like, revisit the message behind everything. And I'll get into that, like, later too, like, because I don't want to say anything now because I feel like it'll, like, I'll get into it. So, I'm gonna start by posting a couple of pictures of the characters.
Oh, are we starting now? So now I get to learn why the world's ending with Freddy.
Exactly. So first, I'm going to send you a picture of. It's a chart with all the protagonists. Which, by the way, you are Rhyme. You physically, you remind me of Rhyme. Like, personality-wise, you remind me of Rhyme.
Rhyme does dress how I did in high school. Minus the shorts.
So, okay, so for both Jen and everybody listening at home, I kind of, like, not always, but, like, I forget what happened, but, like, The World Ends With You, like, came back up in my subconscious, and I thought to myself, oh, like, Jen totally reminds me of Rhyme. And then, completely independent of that, Jen was like, oh, I got this really neat hat, and she showed me, and she got a skull cap.
I did.
Like, yeah, which that's what Rhyme wears. And when she did that, I literally looked at her and I was like, okay, so there's this character that reminds me of you. So yeah, like, in my brain, if we as the Fierce Ferrets were ever to cosplay as these characters, you would definitely be Rhyme.
Well, what amuses me the most is everyone is so epically posed, and I just feel like, yeah, and then there's me, and I'm just like, I'm here.
Yeah, that's so true. So those are the protagonists. And I'm gonna, like, Mr. H up in the corner, who I love, reminds me a little of Deacon for a couple of reasons. For starters, he kind of looks like Deacon.
Right.
But also, like, he owns a coffee shop. He's, like, super cool. But there's one thing about Mr. H, before I get on to showing you the antagonists. There's one thing about Mr. H that I hate.
Okay.
Like, I love his character design, except for his shoes.
Oh,
like,
no.
Like, to me, like, he should be wearing, like, I don't even know what the name of those shoes are, but you know those, like, kind of classy looking, like, black and white shoes?
Oh, yeah, no. So, since obviously the podcast listeners can't visibly see it, he's in a dress shirt, open a little, you know, he's laid back, he's got a dress vest, he's got what looks like could be dress pants, I'm not sure, then he has sandals.
Like, and if you wear sandals, that's fine, do you? But, like...
He looks like how we're all having video conferences, he knows, well, no one's looking at my feet. That's how he looks right now.
That's perfect! That's so good! Okay. And now, these are the antagonists. Let me put it this way. I'm sure I'll come up with one as we go along, but there is not a single character in this game I don't like in some way.
I'm concerned about Uzuki. Can she breathe?
Uzuki can breathe.
Okay, good.
Uzuki is like, I mean, I'll just say it now. It doesn't really matter if I say it now or later. So, like, Uzuki and Karya, the guy with the guy at the start with the orange hair, like, they're partners, in the thing, and I'll get into
crime or in life?
Partners in crime.
Okay.
And, like, as much as I relate to Neku in a lot of ways, Karya is the character I think I'm most like. Okay. Because, like, Uzuki is, like, really work-driven and, like, takes her job super seriously, and Karya is super laid back, and, like, I think at some point, I think a character even makes a comment about how, like, Karya is way more capable than his level would suggest, but, like, he turns down promotions and shit, and he, like, does not want the responsibility. And there is a lot of I see a lot of myself in Karya, Like, when I was in high school, I had a teacher ask me, like, why we had, real quick, when I was in high school, for your first 3 years, you were in, like, a track, which was, like, standard, honors, and scholars, and I was in honors the whole time, which was nothing to scoff at. Like, honors was a big deal, but, like, scholars was, like, the overachievers.
Okay.
And I had a teacher flat out ask me, like, why I wasn't in scholars, because she thought I was smart enough, and I was like, I just really don't want to be in scholars.
Yeah, sorry, I was just laughing, because it's just like, why do I want to work that much harder?
No, seriously, like, I had a friend, like, I had a friend who was, like, a new girl who came to school, and I got to know her, and, like, she was in honors, and she wanted to be bumped up to scholars, and I was like, why? And she goes, well, I'm smart enough, and I was like, yeah, but you're gonna be bombarded with work.
Yeah, and this is coming from someone who's a workaholic,
So, like,
who's like, why would you want that?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and that's very much Karya. So,
well,
like,
I definitely appreciate the charts, because I wouldn't remember any of these names. Except,
Yeah.
I guess, I just love how everyone is like, Japanese name, long name, weird name, and then there's Joshua?
Oh, I love Josh. So, like, we're gonna get to Josh.
Okay.
Josh is actually my favorite character, but I fucking hated him when I first played this game.
Oh.
Like, he eventually grew on me to the point where he's my favorite character, but like
that is
and
quite a growth.
Yeah, like, I love him, but when I first played this game and I got up to his part, I wanted to slap him almost every time he opened his mouth.
Oh,
So let's get into it. So Neku Sakuraba is the game's protagonist. Like
Headphones
I said,
kid.
Headphones Kid.
Okay.
He's a couple characters actually call him Phones.
Oh, alright.
Yeah, so, like, I kind of relate to him a little bit, and I think because you know me, you'll understand what I mean, like, as we go. So I kind of relate to Neku a bit. When we first start the game, Neku is, like, he doesn't like people. He thinks that, like, he doesn't need anybody. The whole reason he
real
wears
Bruce
that...
Wayne type.
Yeah, and, like, the reason he wears the headphones all the time, like, he's constantly listening to music, like, he only cares about music and his favorite artist, who's known as Cat. And, like, there's this mural that he constantly goes to visit that is a cat mural. And, like, Cat is the only person he feels like truly understands him, even though he's never met this person.
Do we know the gender of this musician?
That's the thing,
Cat?
like, that's the thing, nobody knows who Cat is. They just know...
I didn't want to judge this kid, but I didn't know if it was gonna be like a crush thing. Or like, okay.
No, it's not a crush thing, like, they just feel like Cat's art resonates with Neku a lot, like, and Cat, when I say art, I mean, like, Cat's art, like, runs the gamut. Like, Cat is a musician, Cat does murals, Cat does, like, all that shit. So, like, and whatever Cat does, Neku, like, listens to it, looks at it, like, he's a super big fan. And Cat is the only person he feels, like, inspired by and feels a connection to. So, like, so Neku doesn't really give a shit about anybody.
Headphones Kid doesn't like people. Got it.
Headphones Kid does not like people. So, and actually that's how the game opens up. Like, it opens up with Neku, like, sort of, because there was actually voice acting in this game, but like, yeah, so, like, it's not, most of it you read through, but there were, like, certain, like, cutscenes or whatever that there was actual voice acting. And the game opens up with Neku, like, talking about how much he doesn't like people, he doesn't want to be around people. So, one day, he just wakes up, and he's in the middle of Shibuya. That's the other thing. Before I really get into it, one of the coolest things about this game is that all of the locations are based on real places.
Okay.
In Tokyo. Shibuya, which is where the game takes place, is a part of Tokyo. So like there are slightly different names. So like the 104 building, for example, is an actual building, but it's called the 109, I think.
Okay.
So like all or most of the locations are actually real places in Japan, just maybe with a slightly different name. So so the Scramble Crossing is like this. It's kind of like, if I showed you a picture of it, you would know what it was. Like, it's a kind of like iconic place in Tokyo where like a bunch of different crosswalks are or whatever.
Yeah,
And
I gotta say, I only know what Tokyo Tower is, and that's because of Magic Knight Ray Earth, and that's my knowledge of Tokyo.
So Neku just wakes up one day, and he's in the Scramble Crossing, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
Is he standing up, or was he laying down? Like,
but the game doesn't really go into that. I assume that he was lying down and got up, but like it doesn't really like. You don't really know. And as a matter of fact, I've never actually thought about it.
Okay.
Until you just said that now. So
see, I'm asking the real questions. That's why I'm the host.
Exactly. Like, it's been 10 plus years since I first played this game, and I'm only just now thinking about the real particulars.
And you've talked about it twice, so I'm just saying. I'm making you think.
Exactly. So he wakes up in the Scramble Crossing. He gets like a text on his phone, and he looks at the phone, and the phone just says like, "Reach 104. You have 60 minutes. Fail and face erasure." And it's signed the Reapers. So he's like, "All right, whatever. Like, it's junk mail." And he keeps trying to erase it.
It is like an edgelord. The Reaper. The
Reapers.
The Reapers. Oh, good. He's plural.
Yeah,
good.
Plurals. This is not my brother sending Neku a text. So, he's like, "All right, whatever, it's junk mail," and he keeps trying to erase it, but it just won't go away. And then, like, the next thing he knows is like he feels this really sharp pain on his hand, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he looks, and there's a timer that appears on his hand, and it's counting down, and he looks up at like one of the buildings, and there's like a big like Titantron or whatever, and it says, "You have 7 days." It's like, okay. So
all right, hold up, question time. A timer in his hand. So, is there a device now embedded into his hand with a timer, or does his hand just magically have numbers counting down?
His hand just randomly has numbers counting down.
Okay. Has he tried rubbing it off with a little, like, nail polish remover, or, like, an alcohol wipe?
I don't think he has access to those things. Okay. I'm sure if he did, he would try. Okay. Because, like, especially this first 7 days, he's, like, really clueless as to everything that's going on.
Well, so, to be fair, he woke up in a place that's named after eggs with numbers counting down on his hand.
Basically. I just got the eggs thing. So, anyway, these fucking, like, all of a sudden, like, after he sees the 7 days thing, like, these creatures that look like little frogs, they're actually kind of cute, but, like, these frogs.
Did you get me a picture of the frogs?
Oh, I didn't, but I totally will.
Yeah. I want a picture of the frogs.
Oh, absolutely.
I will hold up this podcast.
Honestly, like, a lot of these creatures, like,
everything I wanted.
Yeah, so, and there are actually a bunch of these. Like,
what is the purple thing at the bottom?
Oh, those are its legs.
Oh, sick.
No, like, seriously, the enemies are referred to as noise. I'll get to that later. The enemies are referred to as noise. and all of the noise are, like, one of the things I love about this game are, like, the enemies, their designs are so fucking cool. And, like, even just something as basic as the frog, and there are different frogs. They all have different names. I don't remember them all.
That's okay.
Like, this one I only know because I just looked it up, and it's Dixie Frog. But this is one of those games where, like, the bestiary is, like, super cool looking, like, the entire way down. So yeah, he just gets attacked by these frogs, and he's like, what the fuck?
So second question, how big are these frogs? Like, is it like a literal regular sized frog and you're just like, really, bro? Or is it like it's kind of a big frog?
No, so, like, they're kind of like, they're bigger than normal frogs, but they're not, like, huge. They're like, I'm trying to think of what I could compare them to. So I don't know why this is the first thing that popped into my head, but my brain can't think of anything else right now. So, you know, like, fucking Dobby from...
He's one of the few things of Harry Potter I do know. See, you could also explain Harry Potter to me sometime. I really don't know. I apparently Deacon was asking what house I was. I called it Huffpuff. I really don't know what I'm talking about.
I will gladly do that once I finish reading the books, because I haven't finished that yet, but I've seen all the movies.
One of you. I don't know. I haven't done jack.
So, I mean, Deacon can explain the books and I can explain the movies.
Oh, good.
So I would say they're a little bit smaller than Dobby. Like, they're not very.
So they're not bigger than a frog, though. They're
much bigger than an
they're
actual
huge,
frog.
but as an actual RPG monster, they're not that big.
Exactly. Like, there's a literal fucking bear.
They're like little Bulbasaur. Oh, that's not good.
Like, there's a bear. There are kangaroos. Like, seriously though, like, the noise, like, the enemies in this game are so fucking cool looking. Like, there were times when I first played this game where, like, I was caught between, oh no, what the fuck is that? And, oh, that is so cool looking.
The best places you want to be caught between.
Exactly. So he starts getting attacked by these frogs. And he has, like, no idea what to do, so he just flees because there's nothing else he can do.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd run
So, yeah, so now he's injured, he's hurt, and he's trying to run away. Okay. And, so in Japan, this is one of the, locations that they actually didn't change the name of or whatever. So I don't know if you know about the statue of Hachiko.
Nope, I know about Tokyo Tower. That's it.
Okay.
Is Tokyo Tower in this game?
Tokyo Tower might be the 109. I don't know. I feel like it's probably, if it's, like, a really iconic place, they definitely put it in there. I don't know if Tokyo Tower is the 109. That is
I'm sure, Google could probably tell us.
I'm gonna say it's probably in the game, but I don't know if it's the same thing.
It's not. I just looked it up. They're two different things. Yeah.
Alright. Oh, that's sad. So, like, so what Hachiko is a very iconic landmark in Japan. It's the statue of a dog. And the story behind it, very quickly, is that it's commemorating a dog who was so loyal to his human that, like, everybody, like, it's by a train station, and the dog was always, like, every single day, the dog was seen waiting for his human to come home from work. Like, the dog.
So it's Seymour.
Yeah. What's Seymour?
The Futurama dog.
I was gonna say, is it the Futurama dog?
Futurama dog.
Yeah, so because, like, everybody fell in love with this dog, they made this, like, statue to him, and they put it in the game. So, like, he winds up running to Hachiko, and he meets this girl, who, like, out of nowhere is like, yeah, you're being attacked. Like, this is what we do. We gotta make a pact. And, like, Neku is freaking the fuck out because, like, he keeps trying to shout to people to help him, and nobody seems to know he's there. And everybody, like, is kind of ignoring him or doesn't see what's going on. And this is the first person that he's seen
who responds to him.
Yeah, who like literally goes up to him and is like, "We need to make a pact. This is how we do it."
Which character is this?
Her name is Shiki.
Yeah, I pulled up the guide again because I'm like, wait, who?
Yeah, so Shiki is Shiki's like this really bubbly, pretty girl who, like, you know, so she tells him that like he can't beat the noise, and this is the first time that that the enemies are referred to as noise. And she's basically like, this is crazy talk. She does, like, Neku doesn't know what the fuck she's saying, but he's like, all right, I guess let's do this, because like he doesn't know.
Because he woke up on a street named after eggs and he has numbers on his hand. Yeah, at this point you just go with it. Like, I don't.
Exactly. I mean, wouldn't you just listen to the first person that knew you existed?
Yeah, probably.
Like,
unless it's like an old person, because I just feel like they're leading me down a terrible path.
Yeah, seriously. So he's like, all right, fine, fuck. So he makes a pact with her.
Not like a blood pact, right?
No.
Right,
like,
good.
they bind each other, like, they bind to each other. You know what? Let's just say that that's what it is.
Pinky swear promise, alright.
It's a pinky swear. So, they wind up... Now, here's the thing, like, when Neku woke up, he had this pin on him that had this really cool design. It's like the skull with, No, wait, I'm lying. So, like, it's just a skull, like, it's almost like a skull and crossbones design.
Nice.
But, like, it's really stylized. It's super cool.
Is it like Rhyme's hoodie?
Yeah, it's a little bit like Rhyme's hoodie. A little bit like that. So like he wakes up with this pin and he's like, what the fuck? So like she hands him this other pin before they fight these creatures. And it has like a picture of a fireball on it. And when they fight, Neku can actually summon fire from the pin. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? So they beat the frogs, and she's like, still not making any sense. And she's like, oh, you must be really good at psychs. And he's like, what the fuck are psychs? So like, what psychs are, just going forward, psychs are basically like, they're like, Neku has a special capability where pins that he gets, like, your weapons in the game are pins.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like different pins do different things. So like the fireball pin, he can actually summon fireballs. There are icicle pins that he can summon like large icicles to come up from the ground and hurt enemies. Like he can he has a wide array of weapons that he can use from these pins, and they're called psychs. So like the Shiki can't use them. Which is why she had the pin, and that's why she gave him the pin, because she can't use it. And like she has with her this plush cat called Mr. Mew, which, by the way, if anybody out there that's listening is like super good at sewing and can make me a Mr. Mew, I would really like a Mr. Mew. So anyway, Mr. Mew is like the only thing that she can get to like work with her.
Sorry, I tried Googling Mr. Mew, and I typed world, and instead of world ends with you coming up, I came up with New World Order, and I'm really concerned now, but it's fine. I found Mr. Mew, he's very cute.
He's
Please go on.
He's so cute, and I love him. And there's actually a conversation that Neku has with her later where he's like, why couldn't you? Because Neku calls him Piggy, and she's like, he's not a fucking pig. Because, like, because Shiki actually made Mr. Mew. Shiki likes to sew, and he was, like, the first thing that she ever created. He's a cat, obviously, but Neku keeps calling him a pig, and, like, he's like, why couldn't you pick something cooler? And she's like, believe me, I tried. Mr. Mew is the only thing that works for me. And for Shiki, when she fights, Mr. Mew animates and helps her fight. So, like, she can't use Sykes, but that's what she can do. And, like, all of your partners, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but it doesn't fucking matter.
Right, I'm just as confused as Neku. It's cool. Just throw things at me. They'll make sense later.
Exactly. So, like, all of your partners that you wind up having in this game each have a different thing that they can do. So, like, Neku can use Sykes. He can activate the pins. He can do all of that. That's Neku's thing. Shiki's thing is that, like, she and Mr. Mew fight together. You know, so, like, so anyway, so, like, they fight the noise, they win, and then he does not understand why Shiki keeps following him after this. Because, like, she just keeps following him, and he's like, okay, we did the thing.
Well, first off, where's he even going? What is his plan of action? Like, how is he leading in the first place and she's following him?
So, like, the mission mail at the beginning told him to go to the 104 building. So he's like, all right, I guess that's where. Yeah.
Destination.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, I mean, I guess that's what I'm doing. Cause, like, you know, now we, like, figured it out. So he goes and he tries to go up, but there's, like, this invisible wall that's blocking him. And he notices this dude standing off in the corner in a red hoodie. And he's like, what the fuck is this about? And like, the guy just goes, pact confirmed, and the wall disappears, and he's able to make it to the 104 building. But then more noise come out to try to attack them, and presumably that's Azuki. So, like,
this is just some video game nonsense, what I'm hearing.
So, like, I skipped over it before, but, like, there's a scene where we first meet Azuki and Karya. And, like, Karya is being Karya, and he's like, oh my god, I don't want to do this. Like, a whole week? Like, I don't want to do this. And Azuki's like, we haven't worked in forever. What the fuck are you complaining about? And he's like, this is literally, like, the Monday after a vacation. And... yeah, so they wind up making a bet that whoever can erase the most players this week buys the other one a bowl of ramen.
Is this a video game about a video game?
No,
Jack?
So it's not a video game about a video game, but it is a game within a game. We'll get to that.
Okay. While we have a pause tangent,
yeah.
What is hanging off Neku's wrist strap, because it just looks like a tampon?
Let me see. Oh, I don't even fucking know what that is. I think that's like I see what you mean. I think that's just like on his that might be the thing that's like playing the music. I don't know.
That's the only thing I could think of, but why would it be this ugly ass white tampon? You know what? It's fine. Anyway, moving on. So it's a game within a game, hopefully not within a game.
Yeah,
so the pact was complete. They went through the invisible barrier.
Yeah, so now they hear like somebody like send out more noise for them to beat, and they do. And it's presumably Azuki. I don't remember exactly, but like it's like a Lady Reaper that sends them out, and to me, that only means that it could be Azuki, because like she and Karya made that bet.
Sure.
With each other.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I agree with what you think it is.
yeah, yes. So they beat the noise, and then they're worried about getting erased in the coming days, and especially Shiki, if I remember correctly, because Shiki knows what's going on. Neku is still fucking clueless about this whole thing.
Why isn't he asking her while there's this like? I don't know,
Because
I'd be like, hey, you wanna catch me up? TLDR.
Neku doesn't need anybody. Neku doesn't need anybody, Jen. Neku thinks that he can do everything by himself. So the next thing he knows, he wakes up in the Scramble Crossing again, and he gets another thing sent to his phone.
Wait.
Yeah.
When did the lights go off in the first? What? What do you mean he wakes up?
Exactly.
What?
Exactly.
Okay.
So they do this thing.
Just fade to black, and he just wakes up, and that's it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So his phone goes off again, and there's another mission mail, and then the next thing he knows, Shiki's fucking there again, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you still here? Because he still doesn't get it. And he reads the mission mail, and it says set the cursed sculpture free, and then his hand hurts again, and he gets the timer, and Neku's like, what the fuck is this? And Shiki explains that because Neku also notices that the date on his phone changed, so he's like, holy shit, what the fuck happened after that? And
well, that's a nice little deal.
Yeah, so he's like, what the fuck? How is it the next day?
Yeah, that's my question, Neku, alright? I'm getting less information than you are.
Exactly, and he's like, how is it the next day? I don't remember what happened after that. And Shiki's like, oh, we must have fallen asleep after that happened. That's what she.
That's her best answer.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, I guess we fell asleep. So then, she explains that, oh, that timer that appears in your hand, when we get these are called mission mails, and the Reapers send this to us, and, that timer that appears on our hands, because Shiki gets it too. Okay. It's not just Neku. And you, it's every player in this game gets that on their hands, and, that is how much time you have left to complete the mission. So Shiki's like, well, I don't know what we're supposed to do, but I guess it's Hashigo, because it refers to a sculpture, and that's the best one I know. So Neku is being a total asshat, and he's like,
of course,
yeah, he's ignoring her, he's not paying attention, he doesn't give a shit. So there's there's a very important thing. The pin that I referenced that Neku woke up with that's the skull and crossbones sort of design. Let me look that up for you, because it's actually super cool. Okay, so I just sent you a picture of what the player pin looks like. This is what Deacon.
Oh my god!
This is what Neku woke up with.
So because we just got back from a break, when I went upstairs and I saw this, I thought, oh, it's a weird little demon in a dress, and now I see the skull finally.
Oh my god! It does look like someone. So I super want this as a tattoo with the Reaper wings next to it. Just for shits and grins, I'm gonna show you what the Reaper wings looks like.
Ready.
But I really, really, really super want these. Okay, actually, there's something that is basically exactly the tattoo I want, so I'm just gonna send you that.
Oh, okay. Someone beat you to the idea punch.
Well, somebody, I forget, I don't even remember if this is actually part of the game. Or Reaper tattoo. I'm gonna look at what I named this tomorrow. And I'm gonna be like, that's not even close to what I wanted it. Okay. Where are you?
I'm here.
There you.
I'm right here. Hi.
Okay. No. Okay. Obviously, all files.
Jack, are you okay?
So like
Oh.
the wings on either side of the skull are the Reaper wings. But anyway, so yeah, so that pin that I just sent you before this one, that's what Neku woke up with. And it's a very important part of this pin. Not only does that like designate that he's a player, but he can also activate it to scan everybody around him. So, like, even though everybody around him doesn't seem to know he's there or they completely ignore him, he can actually scan them and see what they're thinking.
Hi.
So, like, yeah, so he, and that comes in kind of important.
Well, it must be
in the game. So,
if
like,
it's included, it must be important. But I'm like, really? Like, I don't know if I want to like listen to other people's thoughts. I already don't like people. Now you want me to listen to their thoughts?
Some of them are kind of funny, but like, for example, like this cursed statue thing, it comes in handy because like when you activate and you listen to people's thoughts, like, you find out shit like, oh, this statue just seems kind of off now, and like stuff like that. So like he goes to scan and shit. So he's like, so Shiki is trying to like figure out what the mission mail means, and he's like, whatever, I don't give a shit, and he's like off thinking his own shit.
So he's still being the typical like.
So, like, let me put it this way, Neku is a fucking asshole for most of the first week, like, for most of his time with Shiki.
I'm sorry, first week?
I'll get to that.
Good.
Because the game is only supposed to be a week, and Neku gets the shit end of the stick, but we'll get to that. So, like...
Fun.
So yeah, so, like, he sees another person in a red hoodie and he tries to scan them, but like he can't. And so what you find out after the fact is like, if you scan somebody or if you try to scan and you can't read somebody, they're probably a part of the game. So they're either another player or they're a Reaper. And the Reapers are the ones that kind of like
are being little shits?
The Reapers are kind of the enforcers of the game. So there are two kinds of Reapers. They're like the ones in the hoodies that like Neku keeps seeing are the ones that like they like if you see like a wall or whatever, they're the ones that kind of like
make sure it's working.
Exactly. Like they're the ones that man the walls and like make sure that you do the thing to like make the wall go down. Like there's like different clear conditions or whatever, so they like watch you and make sure that you do it so they can drop the wall. And then there are like Harriers, and Harriers are like Azuki and Karia are Harriers. They're the ones that can actually erase players and make life super fucking hard for players. And yeah, like, so there are different kinds of Reapers. There are different like levels of Reapers. Anyway, so
just to clarify,
what?
Just to clarify,
yeah,
the game starts out like this, right? Like you don't see previous life. Okay.
Like you literally, like Neku. All you know about Neku when he like from the start is that he doesn't like people.
He's a little shit.
Yeah, he's a little shit. And he doesn't like people. And, like, you literally just get thrown into all of this. So, like, the way I'm telling you how everything is, that's how you figure out what everything is.
Man, early 2000 games were like, you want to know things? Nah, just get in there.
Exactly, but honestly, like that's one of the things I love about the way this game is written is how like you very gradually piece everything together. By the end of the first week, you know what's going on, but I'll get to that. So anyway,
not to sidetrack too much, but I also appreciate storytelling where you're clueless along with the characters. Especially, like, I tried watching that new Sabrina show. I do not like it. But one of the things that really sucked is, you know how in the original it's like she had no idea and she was just getting into this and we were learning with her? The new one, she's already like, I don't know, a year 3 badass, and we're like just along the ride of her just talking all this witch stuff, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on.
And honestly, that's one of the things that I love about this game, because there are so many times, and I know that if you're listening, this is like obviously major spoilers for this game, but like,
I mean, this whole podcast is a spoiler.
The whole podcast is a spoiler. But
spoiler alert, all of Drunk Fandom is a spoiler. Yeah,
but like, honestly, like, even if I was sober, I couldn't do this game justice. Like, you should play it anyway. But like, honestly, like, there's playing the game for the first time and learning everything along with Neku. There were so many times where like I mentioned, my boyfriend at the time and I were playing this at the same time, and like there were some times where like I would get ahead of him or he would get ahead of me, and we would be like, yeah, like, you need to play, like, we would be hanging out that day and I would be like, yeah, I will sit there and watch you play up to this point because I need to see what your reaction is to this. Because, like, I gradually revealed things as you went along.
I mean, that's basically how Let's Play.
Yeah, and honestly, like, this game is so great. But anyway, so Neku and Shiki are trying to figure out what to do, and they wind up running into Beat and Rhyme. Rhyme being the character that I said reminds me of you. So, like...
Oh, so a twofer!
Yeah, so Beat and Rhyme are partners in the game.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, so, like Neku and Shiki are partners, Beat and Rhyme are partners, and Beat immediately attacks them.
I would never guess that Beat and Rhyme were together.
Yeah, so Beat immediately is like, by the way, like, Beat doesn't really remind me of Joey Wheeler, but there's, like, parts of him that are, like, because he's like, yo, I'm gonna do this, yo! Like, that's his whole personality. And he's kind of not smart. And I love him.
Oh, no!
I love him anyway.
Is he a himbo? Is that what we're doing?
He's kind of a himbo. So, like, I love Beat with all of my heart, but he's kind of a ditz, and I love him so much. But like, let me put it this way: Rhyme is definitely the brains between the two. So Beat and Rhyme are partners, and Beat immediately attacks them because he tries to scan them, and he can't scan them. So he's like, "Oh, you must be Reapers." And they're like, no. And Rhyme is like, wait, no, Beat. Like, they got player pins. They're players. Like, that's why you can't scan them. Because anybody, I think I said this already, anybody that's involved in the game, whether you're a player or a reader,
scan.
Exactly. They're the only people that you can't read their thoughts.
Wait, is this where the joke about you lost the game comes from?
I don't think so. I think because I remember being younger than like when this game happened, and my older brother doing that, not Reaper, my older brother.
Right.
I remember him doing shit like that.
Okay.
So I
By the way, everyone just lost the game. Anyway.
Not me, because I refuse to play the game, and I know that, like, that's a thing that you can't play, like, you can't refuse, but fuck you, I refuse.
I mean, you're also drunk, so you can just say whatever you want. It's fine.
Exactly. So there's actually, like, they were right. And there is, like, something wrong with Hashiko, and there's noise that's cursing them, and they have to, like,
Hashiko is the place, correct?
Yeah, Hashiko is the statue of the dog. Like, it's actual location.
By some reason, it's the first time you're tuning in with us to Drunk Fandom. I'm dyslexic, and Japanese names, forget it. I can't do them. So I'm like, I was looking at all the characters and I'm like, wait, which one is that? And I'm like, oh, it's the place. I'm caught up.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I'm super fucking drunk and I'm a probable dyslexic. Like, there's a lot of shit that points to me being dyslexic, but I was never, unfortunately, like, people didn't know whether or not it was never a thing that was suspected of me because I was so good at, like, English class. But I'm a probable dyslexic. Like, I ping on so many things. Aside from that, the fact that I'm super drunk, if I, like, mispronounce a Japanese name, I apologize from now. Because I do try, because I don't want to be disrespectful. But anyway, so, like, they wind up getting into an argument at some point. I don't remember exactly what happens, but, like, Shiki is trying to convince Neku, because, like, Beat and Rhyme, or I think just Rhyme, is like, Rhyme and Shiki think that they should all stick together, and, like, Neku is being a dick, like he is at the start of the game. So, like, Beat is like, no, yo, I don't want to do this no more. And he just leaves. And of course, because Rhyme is his partner, she's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go with him, even though I think this is a bad idea and I think we should, like, team up. So, like, so she gets kind of pissed. So then, like, what happens is Uzuki shows up, the Reaper lady, and she's like, oh, by the way, Neku, because, like, Shiki up until this point, I kept, like, she has this thing where she keeps, like, looking at her phone the entire time.
You mean not in a regular millennial way?
No, like, not,
okay.
like, even more so than that. Like, she, like, Neku keeps catching her looking at her phone and, like, doing stuff on her phone. So, like, Uzuki shows up, and now Uzuki had made the bet with Karia. So, like, Uzuki is trying her fucking damnedest to, like, erase as many players as possible. So she tells Neku, oh, by the way, your partner isn't actually your partner. Your partner has been working with us the whole time. And Neku's like, what the fuck? And Uzuki's like, oh yeah, like, she's been looking at her phone, right? Like, she's been texting us the whole time, like, telling us everything. So Uzuki says to Neku, if you erase her, if you destroy her, I'll let you out of the game, and you don't have to do this anymore. And the day fucking ends.
Nice.
So, yeah, so when you wake up the following day...
So, just to confirm, both days, they didn't complete the mission, correct?
No, they actually did.
Oh, okay.
They actually did.
Okay, so that's, like, why the day ends. Got it.
Yeah, so, like, so if I recall correctly, the four of them, Neku, Shiki, Rhyme, and Beat, like, took care of the mission, and that's when there was the argument of whether or not they should stay together, and Beat, like, was automatically sick of Neku's shit and was like, I don't want to deal with you, and, like, they left.
Fair.
Yeah, and of course, because, like, Rhyme is Beat's partner, was like, yeah, I'm gonna go follow him. So anyway, the following day, Neku wakes up, and he's in this, like, dark place, and he's upset. Like, he actually shows remorse, because he's like, holy shit, I fucking killed her. I erased...
It starts out this way?
What?
It starts out this way?
Yeah, like, day 3, like, starts out this way. Like, he wakes up in this super dark place. He doesn't see anything. He can't find Shiki. And then he remembers what happened the day before, sort of, that Uzuki showed up and was like, yeah, this is what happened with Shiki, and you should destroy her because she's actually, like, spying for us. So, and I'll let you out of the game if you do this. So, like, he actually shows remorse, and he's very sorry that he did that, but then he hears footsteps, and he calls out, and it's Shiki's voice that responds, and there's this flashback. What happened was, and Neku doesn't remember this right away until Shiki brings it up, this dude shows up, and it was this was one of those things that I'm drunk, so I'm gonna fuck it up.
That's
but
okay.
Sane Hanakoma, Mr. H. He's known as Mr. H from now on. Everybody calls him Mr. H.
Okay.
It's the cool dude that reminds me of Deacon with
the sandals. Sandals, basically.
So as Neku is basically like destroying Shiki, Mr. H shows up and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" to Usuki. And he's like, "Yeah, you know this is against the rules. Only the game master can set what the rules are for the day. There's only one mission per day, and the way that you're going about it is illegal. You can't do this." So, like, he shows up, basically snaps Neku out of it, tells him that this isn't a good thing, and that he can't kill his partner, and he makes his partner, and he makes Neku, like, apologize to Shiki, and he tells him, like, you know, and he gives him, like, a pin, because, like, to mark their personal growth. And what happens is, like, after the flashback, they get the mission mail, and it startles Shiki, and she drops her phone, and Neku goes to, like, pick it up to hand it to her, and she freaks out, and she's like, "Don't look at the phone. Like, it's fine. Like, just don't look at the phone." But Neku sees the wallpaper on her phone anyway, and it's a picture of Shiki and this other girl who he doesn't recognize, and she's kind of like this, like, nerdy girl, like, who's kind of like you get the sense that she's, like, super, like, quiet and introverted or whatever, and is Shiki and this girl. So, like, Shiki, like, basically tells him at that point, like, "Oh, you know, like, that's my friend. That's why I've been looking at my phone. I miss my friend." Because, like, yeah, like, I fucking love Shiki, like, so fucking much, and we'll get to that later, but, like I said, I love basically every character in this game. There's not a single character I can think of that I super hate.
So,
like, yeah.
But this is day 3. We haven't even gotten through, we just started day 3, and we've already had a betrayal? Almost betrayal?
Yeah, because Neku doesn't... because that's the thing, like, Uzuki's fucking smart.
Why hasn't Shiki explained to him what is going on?
I think it's because she doesn't want to... I think there are 2 theories I have right now. Like, I don't know if she knows how much Neku understands. And also, I think, like, because at the end of the day, Shiki needs him to, like, complete the game. And she knows that if she, like, puts too much on him right away, it might freak him out and make him... Because, like...
I'd be more freaked out not knowing what is going on. I'd be like, I'm not moving. The time, like, tell me what is going on.
Well, that's the thing, like, Shiki, I honestly, like, because of the way that Shiki behaves, I don't think she understands how little Neku knows. And because Neku is being such an ass, that might be a thing that she just thinks that he does know what's going on, maybe. And, like, he's just an ass.
Now, to be fair, I'm more so I'm more so confused why he's not asking her. Like, on both sides, I'm wondering why there's no communication, but I guess you did explain Neku sucks, so...
Neku, yeah, like, let me be clear, like, I fucking love Neku. Neku is a great character, but at the start of the game, he fucking sucks as a person. Like, Neku is one of the most complex characters that I've ever encountered in a game, and by the end of the whole game, like, he is such a fucking great person, and I love him so much, but yeah, like, he goes through a lot to get to that point. Okay, so
he finds out he didn't kill Shiki, he's got Flashback City, then what?
Yeah,
now, so we learn about Mr. H now, or is that a future thing we learn about? Like,
no, like, he learns about Mr. H now through the flashback.
Okay.
So, like, what they wind up finding out is that they're in this music hall or whatever. It's called A East, and it's like this
I'm
big
sorry.
concert. What?
A is in the letter A.
Yeah,
As in...
A-East.
Okay.
And it's like this concert hall. Like,
oh, sure.
I don't know how else to describe it. I know you definitely don't know what this is, but like there's this like excuse me. There's this place I used to go to that's this like little concert hall. It's called Starland Ballroom. It's this little concert hall. There's a stage and there's like this little like area where like it's a standing room only kind of venue. The last time I was there was actually like last year for Ninja Sex Party, but yeah, like I used to go there all the fucking time when I was younger, and it's basically that kind of place. It's like a standing room only concert hall. It's kind of small.
I'll imagine it. It's just a place I would hate being. So we're in this place.
Yeah, honestly, like let me put it this way: I don't like being at places like that. So like. The only reason I would be there is if it was a band that means a hell of a lot to me. So they they find out that they're in A East, and they meet this guy outside, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to do a favor for me." And it's this dude, he's known as 777. And 777 is actually like he's in this popular band called like Death March, and he's
so he's not the third brother of 007?
No, he's actually not. But he is a Reaper.
Oh, nice. Is he wearing the hoodie, or are we just?
No, like 777 is actually like if I recall correctly, he does wear a hoodie, but like he doesn't have the hood up. Like, he's like this guy with like blonde spiky hair, and like he does have the Reaper wings if I recall correctly, but like this is where we learn about the UG and the RG. So the UG is where Neku and Shiki are right now. UG stands for underground, and the RG is the real ground, and that's why nobody can see them, is because they're in the UG. And everybody else that they see around them is in the real ground. So, like, there's this disconnect between what the UG and the RG are. And, so he, So 777 asked them to do him a favor. And, Neku, agrees that Neku agrees to do it, and Shiki made a comment or whatever that Mr. H was fun or whatever, and because they were talking about the flashback, and Neku is yeah, there was something about Mr. H that kind of pulls you in, he's super personable, there's something he feels he connects to Mr. H even though he first met him. So
is Mr. H cat?
What?
Is Mr. H cat?
Yeah, he is. But that goes. So you find that out later. But from our episode doing Marble Hornets, I've learned not to deny you information.
Because I'm just yelling at Tim the whole time. So the real question though,
I know you were fucking Tim, and I was like, no, Tim is a sweetheart. I love him.
The real question is...
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a question. I guess it's not really a question. It's more so this is not real. Because the second he saw those sandals, he was not disappointed.
Yeah, seriously though. Because honestly, seriously, if you saw somebody like Mr. H out in public... Forget that you saw the sandals that he's wearing. And again, if you wear sandals, it's fine. Do you? I don't care.
Oh, no. If anyone has seen us on stream, I am pro sandals and Luke is... What is the opposite of pro? He's anti-sandal, con sandal. He's not a sandal person. We've had a very in-depth argument about sandals.
Yeah.
But there are some things sandals do not go with.
And that outfit is not a thing that sandals go with.
Exactly.
Like, I super wish that he was wearing those, like, black and white shoes. Like, they're actually, the shoes I'm referring to, I don't remember what they're called, but they're actually in, Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
And
they're wingtips, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, I have a bunch of different colors of them.
So I'm not gonna get into it because it's a whole thing, but a lot of this has to do with design and silhouette and making your character stand out. So while I understand from a design perspective what they were trying to do, because we're talking about his stupid sandals, aren't we? But
we are.
It's kind of like how they're, how they're like, oh, all press is good press. It's like, it actually isn't. We're talking about it, but when this is all over, I'm not going to think back fondly on Mr. H. I'm going to think about his stupid sandals. Granted, I'll never forget him, but it's not for good reasons.
To be honest, whenever I think of this character, I never think of the sandals. I always think of him as I wish he was. Because I honestly, like, I feel like, and I get where you're coming from as, like, a visual artist.
I was going to say, you played the game. So it's like completely, you have an emotional connect here. So for you, it's completely different. For someone like me, it's kind of like, I never played Fire Emblem. But the stupid main character who's in a full plated armor, but then has his feet showing, or her feet, because it's a gender pick. It's the main character. They're in full armor, but their feet are open. And I'm like,
and like that's the thing, because like I was a graphic design major when I was in college before I dropped out, and like just from that perspective, I don't get that choice, like for character design. And like whenever I think of him, I always have to kind of remind myself that that's a choice that they made, because like whenever I think of him, I think of like those wingtip shoes, because I feel like that would make the whole thing more cohesive. And I kind of get it, because like they're trying to be like, oh, he's super laid back, and he is a very cool laid back character, but like,
well, he is clearly comfortable, let's be real.
Exactly,
he looks comfortable,
like, but honestly, like, and Deacon and I have talked about this, because like at some point I would like to dress up as Josh. And we'll get to that, because Josh and Mr. H have kind of a relationship, like a predetermined relationship going on, like a friendship. So I would like to dress up as Josh at some point, and I think Deacon would make a great Mr. H. And like now that you've seen him, you understand what I mean by that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
he kind of looks like him.
I know we've tangented on the sandals thing, but just to explain, it's not that I don't understand why they did it. I actually do understand why they did it. It's silhouette. It's probably the character. He probably doesn't give a crap what he looks like. Is what I'm learning from this. Like, there's reasons. However, it looks terrible. Like, there could be reasons, but it's gonna look bad. Like, the character from Fire Emblem. From what I've been explained, dragons in that setting don't wear shoes. I don't know why, but that's what however, there is a character who's a dragon, one of all the dragons in the entire series who does have shoes on. Right, there's one. So immediately you've already broken the pact, because if all dragons don't wear shoes, why is this asshole wearing shoes? So,
how dare you?
That being said, let's get back. I'm sorry I tangented us on the sandals again.
No, honestly, that's fine. I love to talk about character design, because like for the most part I love the character design in this game, but that's like the one gaffe I feel that they made. And again, I get it. Like, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about this.
Listen, you can get it and not agree with it, and that's where I am. I get it, but I just think it's stupid looking.
Exactly. Like, I get it because he's super laid back and chill and everything, and I get where they were going with it, but I feel like the wingtip shoes would be so much better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, that just, in my brain, that's what I see, and like, I've talked to Deacon about it, and if he ever actually agreed to do the thing with me, like, that's what he would wear. And he told me flat out, like, oh no, I would never wear sandals with that outfit. So anyway, so yeah, so the UG and the RG, I already explained that.
Yes.
So like, so
the Reaper's explaining to him. What, they're in a bar, you said?
It's a concert hall.
concert hall. I thought
Yeah.
alcohol, you know, and that's why I was like, was it a bar? No, it's a place I don't want to be. It's a concert hall.
Exactly. It's exactly, like, it would basically be your nightmare.
Right.
So, like, and it's a place that I would only be scarcely if it's a band I really fucking want to see. So, basically, like, if Ghost played at a concert hall, which, like, they never would, they're beyond that now, I would be at that concert hall in a fucking heartbeat, but otherwise, no. So, anyway, so they wind up running into, like, Rhyme and Beat again, and, like, the mission thing is that they have to, like, beat the monster in the concert hall or whatever. So they wind up beating the thing. Like, Shiki and Neku actually beat a thing that's not what they're supposed to do, but, like, Rhyme and Beat show up and they, like, destroy, like, the main boss of the whole thing, the Golden Bat.
So is this your first boss encounter, or is this like...
This is, like, one of the first, like, real big things that you have to fight. So, like, we had the frogs, but they weren't really that big a deal.
Alright, you don't have to make the frogs feel bad.
Exactly. I love the frogs. They're so cute. Honestly, like, I super love all of the noise in this game. But anyway, so they beat them, and, so yeah, like, they all beat them or whatever, and, like, if I recall correctly, like, there's, like, this dialogue where, like, Beat is like, yeah, we did it, and, like, Rhyme is like, oh, but, like, they did, like, they figured out most of it or whatever, and Rhyme is like, and Beat's like, oh, well, blah. Like, Rhyme is, like, super great. Like, Rhyme is a sweetheart, and she'll, like, give credit where it's due, and she's like, Beat is kind of, like, a little bit of ego, like, not super, like, not a lot. Like, Beat's great in his own way, but, like, Rhyme will give credit where it's due.
Right.
Yeah, so, like, after they, like, beat the thing, like, the scene shifts to this dude Megami and this lady Konishi, her name is, and, like, there's this conversation between them where Konishi tells Megami that 6 players were eliminated, and like, she's like, oh, you know, like, we have our regular meeting tomorrow, and Megami's like, oh, you know, like, tomorrow's game will be very entertaining. And by this point, if I recall correctly, we don't even know who the game master is.
I don't even know what the game is. I'm still incredibly confused.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. So, like, and that's the thing, like, the first week is super important, like, as far as detail-wise, to set up what the fucking game actually is. And there's a lot that, like, they reveal very slowly. So after this, like, once you actually get what's going on, like, it'll be a breeze. Okay. So anyway, as much as I want to, like, go into detail for, like, my favorite characters, I won't. So, like, so anyway, like, so, Konishi and, so, like, the next day starts, like, after they, like, beat the beast, like, which is this giant golden bat, for A East. Like, we start the next day, and Konishi's like the super pretty, like, sort of, like, she wears, like, this maid outfit, I guess, and, like, she's one of, like, the higher ups for the Reapers.
Right.
And she's, like, scolding this dude that we haven't met yet, whose name is Minamoto, and Minamoto is kind of, like, he's a fan favorite.
That's a lot of words in his...
Yeah.
Minamoto.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, and if I am...
well, then don't guide me through pronouncing it!
Listen, if you're listening in the future on YouTube and I'm mispronouncing it, please let me know. Because
why would you ask them to tell you that? That's your first mistake.
No, I know, but I genuinely want to be respectful and pronounce it correctly. So if I'm mispronouncing it and I think it's one way and it's not, I would love to actually genuinely know. So anyway, Minamoto, he was supposed to meet them and he was late to the meeting, and I fucking love Minamoto. So Konishi's like, what the fuck? And he's like, he literally says, I can think of a decillion better ways to spend our time. Like, the thing about Minamoto that he's like super into numbers. Like, one of his big things is like one of his like voice acted things is like he'll shout sine, cosine, tangent. Like, that's
he's the fan favorite.
He is one of the biggest fan favorites of this whole game. Like, everybody fucking loves Minamoto. I love him personally, but we'll get to why that's weird for me to love him so much later.
Okay, wait, because I've been trying to figure out who this person is. Because on the thing you sent me, it just says Sho.
Oh,
I just looked it up.
Yeah, Sho Minamoto. His first name is Sho.
I'm learning that now because I googled him because I'm like, what does this fan favorite look like?
I apologize. I thought I listed his full name.
I mean, to be fair, you're drunk. Also, he looks like a tool, so take that, fan favorite.
So he does look like that, but he's great. So
is he though?
He is, but he isn't. But I'll get to that. Because, like, my favorite is great, but he really fucking isn't. But I'll get to that. So, like, anyway, so Megami, who's like the dude with the fucking with the sunglasses, he so like this is where we meet who the game master is for this week. Is this guy Higashizawa, if I recall correctly? That's how you pronounce it. So like so Minamoto is like, what the fuck? Like, he's like, Minamoto is like, he plays by his own rules and he has things that he wants to get done that don't really concern what's going on with the rest of the game. But that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna skip ahead. So like excuse me. So like Neku and the gang wake up and Neku wakes up and like Shiki, Beat, and Rhyme are all there. And they're all talking, like, cause Neku like wakes up after them. So they're all talking and they're like, yeah, you know, like it's amazing how many people there are with their own unique stories and whatever. And like Neku is like thinking about how like Shibuya fucking sucks.
Oh, okay. Okay, and wait. Shibuya is the place from the beginning, right?
Yeah, and Shibuya is the place where this whole game takes place, and Shibuya itself is an actual place.
I know. Like, for some reason, when you say it, I keep thinking you're talking about a person, and I have to think and be like, no, it's not a person. I don't know why.
Yeah. So so the locations within Shibuya are sometimes changed. Like I said before, like the 104 building in the game is actually 109.
Right.
But generally speaking, like Shibuya is an actual district within Tokyo.
Right.
Like it's actually real, and like I've actually gone into like Google Maps to look up these places, and they look almost exactly the way they are in the game.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's honestly like it's super cool, and that just added a layer to the game for me that like
the game that you haven't lost because you're not playing.
Exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, so Neku thinks to himself, like, he's listening to them talk, and he thinks, like, oh, the people in Shibuya are the real noise. Because he still fucking hates everybody, and he doesn't want to deal with it. So, Beat and Rhyme are talking, and they're like, there's so many people, but, like, none of them ever see them. Like, and they're talking about how, like, they're kind of invisible to everybody. And, like, Neku is like, oh, like, this is actually amazing for me. Because, like, I'm invisible for the first time, and nobody deals with me. Like, nobody ever actually, like, fucking talks to me. But then they get the mission mail, and there's no time limit, and they gotta reach Towa, T-O-W-A, Towa Records, which is actually, again, a real place. It's Tower Records.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if you recall, but there used to be, like, this big music thing called Tower Records.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, it's, if I recall correctly, I don't know if it's changed since the game came out, but it actually still exists in Japan from as far as I know, but, like, in the States it doesn't anymore, but that's where you need to go. So, like, they're like, oh, it's only a 10-minute walk from here. So Neku is like, oh, I guess we don't have to team up, because it's just 10-minute walk and it's nothing. So, like,
we're still not talking about what's going on. So,
Neku literally has not asked.
Neku has a death wish. Neku doesn't care about life and is just gonna do this forever.
Neku literally just wants to get this shit done.
Right,
like,
but he's never going to, because he doesn't ask any questions!
He doesn't care. Like, he doesn't want to know what's going on. He just wants to deal with the shit. And then, yeah.
Just, how did you get through this game without wanting to, like, I would just strangle this kid?
Well, that's the thing, like, you'll wind up loving Neku, but you fucking want to beat the shit out of him in the beginning. So, like, there's so many times. Yeah, there's so many times at the beginning where I'm like, Neku, buddy, like, why? Like, even replaying it, like, with my love of Neku now, knowing, like, where the game takes us, I was like, oh my god, I want to fucking punch you in the face. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So, anyway, so Beat is like, oh, I got a good idea. I love Beat, but Beat never has a good idea. Beat was like, oh, yeah, I got a good idea. And Beat's ideas aren't really that great.
Well, he's the himbo, so, as we discussed.
Beat is the himbo.
Right.
Beat is the himbo. Like, I love Beat with all of my heart and soul, but Beat, like, Rhyme is definitely the brains of that operation. So, the scene shifts, and, like, it's Azuki and Karya, and Azuki is, like, super fucking pissed about, like, oh, like, they just gotta make it to Tower Records? Like, what the fuck is that about? And, like, Karya is being Karya. Like, as much as Azuki is being Azuki.
I don't wanna. Is that what
Yeah, Karya is like, what the fuck? Like, just embrace it. This is easy. Let's just take a day off. It's not that big a deal. So, Azuki's like, oh, like, I can't even do shit the way I want to. And, Karya is like, okay, but, like, we have orders from the boss. Excuse me. And Azuki's like, alright, I guess you're right.
Now, so, you haven't talked about Food Guy yet, correct?
No. So,
okay.
Food Guy is, Higashizawa. I might have mentioned him, but I don't think I did.
I don't think you did either, because I'm trying to think. Every time you talk about a character, I look at this chart and I'm like, trying to remind myself who these people are.
So it's actually a good thing that you brought him up, because Higashizawa is the game master for this week. He's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I sort of said this before, but like the game master, he or she or whatever, like they are the ones that set the rules for the game for that week and the missions and everything like that. So like he is the one that is calling the shots this game.
Right.
So like Neku is, so like it cuts back to Neku and the gang, and he's like, all right, well, Beat, like, what the fuck is your plan then? And Beat is like, oh, so what I think we should do is me and you and like the two of us, like our two teams, we should race to Tower Records. So like Rhyme is like, okay, I guess like that's the thing that we're doing, because like it like Beat, like before he even
runs off.
Yeah, like he runs off like before anybody says anything. So Rhyme is like, oh, I guess I'm doing this now. So he runs off. And like Neku and Shiki are both like, okay, so Beat is a little bit out of his mind. So they before Beat runs off, before Rhyme runs off after Beat, like she's like talking to Shiki, and she's like, yeah, you know, like it's funny, like the way that we became partners is like Beat asked me to be his partner, like. And like, and there's this like pendant that Rhyme is wearing that you see in the picture.
Right.
Like it's this really cute bell. Like, to be honest, I would love this in real life if anybody like actually made this. And it's supposedly like, because Shiki's like super into fashion and she freaks out about it, and like it's this like really rare thing that and she's like, oh yeah, you know, like, I, like, what does she say? She says, like, because, like, Rhyme is, like, impressed that Shiki knew what it was, and Shiki's like, oh yeah, like, I follow all the fashion trends and everything, and Rhyme is like, oh yeah, like, I was really lucky, like, I really, really wanted one, and, like, she's like, you know, I would give you mine, but like my brother gave me this and it's like super important to me. And she's like, and then she gets like really sad and she's like, I really hope my brother is okay and all of this and everything. And then like she starts like talking about like, you know, her like dreams for the future and everything, and like Chiki's like, oh yeah, you know, like I wanted to be a fashion designer, and Rhyme is like, you know, oh, you know, like I wish I had a dream because, like, I don't actually have any myself, you know, and she says that, like, one of the reasons that she, like, really likes that she's Beat's partner is because, like, Beat really wants to be, like, a famous skateboarder someday, and, like, she admires that about him, and she admires that, like, he has, like, some goal for the future, and she wishes that she had something like that. So, like, so Beat, like, realizes that, like, Rhyme hasn't been following him. So he's like, yo, Rhyme, what the fuck? And he, like, turns to her, and he's like, we don't want phones to win. Like, not even talking about Shiki, he just doesn't want Neku to win the bet. So, like, so they run off, and, like, Neku says to Shiki, like, I never agreed to race. But, like, you know, if Beat and Rhyme have a head start on the mission, they can slow down. Because, like, the thing about the missions that they figured out along the way is that so long as one team, like, in all of the players of the game, so long as one team finishes the mission, it counts for every player in the game. So, like, Neku's
so
like,
they're all kind of partners without being partners.
Exactly. So, like, if Neku and Shiki go and they complete the mission, it counts for Beat and Rhyme, it counts for everybody else, so nobody else has to worry about beating the mission. So, like, so Neku's like, alright, I mean, I guess we can, like, because Beat and Rhyme have a head start, so, like, we can do whatever. So, like, Shiki's like, oh, you know, like, if you wouldn't mind, can we go to 104? So, like, here's the thing about and I know that like we're still in week 1, and again, like I'll breeze by once we get through this. This is like all of the like kind of important story building shit. So like when like one of the things is the like how everybody can't see them, like the players of the game, the only way that they can see them is like certain stores and shit have like the player pin symbol tagged on the side of the building, and that's the only way that everybody can see them.
The buildings or the...
Yeah, so like for example, like I'll use Target as a real world example. So like if you were a player in this game and you went up to a Target and there was like a player pin symbol like spray painted on the side, when you went into that Target, everybody would be able to see you and everything like nothing. Like they can't.
So you cross over to the RG.
Exactly it. Like that is the fucking like that's like the link between worlds, sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, so Shiki's like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess if that's okay, like we'll go to the 104, and the 104 is one of the buildings that has a tag on it. So they go in, like they meet this dude who's like Eiji Joji, who's like he's referred to as like
okay,
the prince of, yeah.
Quick question. So do they know the tags do this, or is this them finding out the tags do?
I think Shiki, if I recall correctly, Shiki knows this.
Okay.
Shiki knows way more about the game than Niku does at this point. So like Eiji Joji, who's known as like the Prince of Ennui, like I'm trying to think of like a modern example of what he would be, but like he's like a super like popular blogger who's like whatever's hot nowadays, like he blogs about it, and his blog's like F everything. And F stands for fabulous. So if he says like F this, he means it's a good thing. So like they run into him and Shiki like, yeah, so like Shiki like freaks out or whatever. So like they wind up talking about like, you know, Shiki's dreams or whatever, and like, you know, Shiki is like super into fashion, and the clothes that Shiki is wearing, she actually made herself. And Neku thinks to himself, and this is like one of the first, other than like when he was super guilty about trying to erase her, this is one of Neku's like first real big moments where he realizes like, oh, you know, like I don't give her enough credit, because like all of the clothes that Shiki is wearing, she made herself. And like Shiki's dream is that she wants to be like a fashion designer. And she like tells Neku about like her friend Eri, and how Eri really was the designer, but she was the one that like, you know, like was the seamstress and like made all the clothes, but she couldn't do it without Eri. But like Neku kind of like, that's really the start of when he changes his mind about Shiki, because like he was like, oh well, you know, at least she has a dream, at least she has things that she wants to do with her life, you know, and like I can't really say that I have anything. So like anyway, like they go off on their thing because like Beat and Rhyme are ahead of them, and they like wind up going to Tower Records, and Beat asks Neku like, oh man, like are you even trying to win, because like they took so long. And then like Rhyme actually says to like, yeah, like it's actually funny, like Beat wanted to wait for you guys to catch up. So like Beat is actually like, Beat seems like an egghead, but like he genuinely cares.
Right. In typical himbo fashion.
Yeah, honestly, like, Beat is seriously like the typical himbo. Like he's wonderful and like really just like he does care, even though he pretends not to. But anyway, like Shiki says that like she's really lucky to have Shiki says to Rhyme that she's lucky that her best friend is her partner, and like, you know, Neku is like, you know, like Neku like thinks to himself like, oh well, if that's the case, like he doesn't say this out loud, he thinks it's himself, like he's like, oh well, you know, like if Shiki's best friend is the girl in the picture on her phone, like why didn't she like team up with her, like why did she like team up with me? But like, so anyway, like they make their way to Tower Records, and like Beat like runs ahead of everybody, and like Rhyme is trying to catch up, but like Rhyme, like, so like the noise, there are these symbols that appear like sort of on the ground. Like you can actually like scan to see the symbols, like if you need to, like, because sometimes like in the game, like you have to like destroy a certain amount of like noise or whatever, but like game wise, like the symbols appear on the ground, and like Rhyme notices one of the symbols on the ground, and she immediately like she notices that the noise slides under Beat, and she doesn't even think. Rhyme like dives and pushes Beat out of the way, and when she does, like, this is one of the really hard moments of the game, because like, yeah, so when she does, you hear this noise like a car screech to a halt, like it got into an accident, and the shark pops up out of the ground and takes out Rhyme. As Rhyme is trying to push Beat out of the way of danger, the shark comes up, the shark noise takes out Rhyme.
Did Rhyme die?
Rhyme gets erased. So this leaves Neku and Shiki to take care of it. And Rhyme, like, and this is like one of the first like big boss fights in the game. And like they take care of the noise, and Mr. H shows up, and he like says, and like Beat is beside himself, and he's so upset, and like he feels super guilty, and Mr. H is like, excuse me, and Mr. H is like, okay, like I get that, but we need to get you to safety right now. Because players, when they lose their partner, they can only live for 7 minutes afterwards.
Oh.
So, but Mr. H knows a way to keep players alive past that. So Mr. H is like, okay, I get that you're upset, you just lost your partner, we need to get you out of here. So Neku and Shiki, like, that's when they fight the shark. They're like, yeah, we'll avenge Rhyme. You gotta get out of here. So, like, so after the fight, Shiki is, like, super fucking upset. Like, and keep in mind, like, at this point, like, Neku hasn't really shown much emotion.
Right.
So, like, Shiki is upset and is like, you know, I don't know if we could have saved Rhyme. And Neku is, like, super cold, and he's like, no, we couldn't have. That's just the way it is. And, like, Shiki's super fucking angry at him. And she's like, you know, how are you not sad? Like, how do you, like, not know? Like, how do you not, like, feel anything? We just lost our friend. You know, and, like, and Neku, like, sort of has this weird thing, because here's the thing about Neku. Neku doesn't actually remember anything, like, most of anything. What?
Before?
Yeah, like, there are things that Neku remembers, but, like, he doesn't remember how he got here. He doesn't remember any of that. So, like, he has this weird moment where he's like, yeah, this is just like that time. But then he doesn't remember anything. And he's like, what the fuck was that about? Like, what time does this, does this remind me of? And, like, and, like, Shiki's like, how could you be so cold? Like, Beat and Rhyme are our friends, like, how, like, they were helping us. And Neku, like, has this outburst where he's like, all that friends are good for is, like, they talk and laugh like idiots, they pretend to agree with you, so you end up caring about them, and you expose yourself, and you wind up getting hurt.
Dun, and, dun, dun!
Yeah, and, like, Shiki's, like, super pissed at him at this point. Yeah.
It took her long enough.
Exactly, like, but Shiki's, like, a sweetheart, so, like, she's super pissed at him at this point. Okay, so, like, Rhyme gets erased.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I fucking wept, like, the first time I saw this. Like, it's one of the most emotional moments of the whole thing.
I'm gonna just, finish your thought first, because I have... So it was emotional for you.
No, like, it's super fucking emotional. And, like, because, like, other than the fact that, like, Rhyme is one of the most beloved characters immediately in the game. Like, once you meet her, you fucking love her immediately. And for her to be the first main character that, like, is just fucking gone is super hard. And then, like, Beat's reaction to losing his partner is really fucking hard. And then, like,
yeah, so
before I go on, what were you gonna say?
No, just okay, so because we were on break and you told me there, like, we're not even halfway through this game. Like, I thought we were getting through, like, it must be just a week long, like, someone's died already, we've got to be far. And I'm hearing we are not even 25% through this game yet.
Yeah, because, like, that's...
And they already killed somebody.
They already killed somebody. And, like, the thing is, like, the first week, like, is so important just for generally, like, setting up the story. So I'm gonna skip ahead a lot.
So, this is all the major stuff of the first week.
Yeah, so, like, once we reach Rhyme's
death.
Rhyme's erasure. Because,
I just
like,
think
you get erased.
No, I understand, but you're drunk and death is one syllable.
Okay, but here's the fun fact about that. So, like, so here's the thing, like, Neku is being Neku.
Yeah.
Like, after that happened, Neku is being Neku, and he's kind of being cold about the whole thing, and Shiki, like, freaks the fuck out on him. And the thing about it is, like, what you find out, and this is, like, super, like, skipping ahead, because I kind of wanted to get to Rhyme's death, like, Rhyme's erasure. Here's the thing. What you find out is that the game, like, the Reapers and everything, you're fucking dead.
Nice!
Like, this game, the whole point of the game is to try to win, to get a second chance at life. So every single person in this game is actually dead. The reason why the people who are running the game are called Reapers is because they're actually fucking Reapers. You are dead. So when you get erased in the game, that's it. You're done. Like,
the Rhyme is actually gone, though.
Yeah, Rhyme is gone. So everybody that's like, and
that sucks.
Neku,
no, wait, do you find this out at the end of the first week or when Rhyme died?
Like,
okay.
Yeah, like, all of the story structure stuff happens within the first week. So, like, you find out all of this, and like another thing that you find out is that like everybody that's in the game pays a fee to be in the game. So like Neku throughout this entire week,
his memories. That's something you pay.
Exactly. Neku's memories are what he paid. Like he doesn't remember anything.
Okay. So what I'm learning is since other people didn't do that, I'm guessing that's why Shiki just assumed he knew what was going on. She knows she's dead.
Shiki. So here's the real fucked up part about Shiki, because at some point during the first week, they run.
She didn't bet her friend, did she?
Well, here's the thing.
Oh no.
Here's the thing about Shiki. So like, they're like out and about, and Neku sees somebody who looks exactly like Shiki. Do you remember when I said that like the wallpaper on Shiki's phone was like Shiki and like
a nerdy girl? Was she the nerdy girl?
She was the nerdy girl.
Well,
Shiki is actually the nerdy girl. Like Shiki wanted so desperately to be exactly like her friend Eri, her name is, that like when she first woke up in the Yuji and she looked like Shiki, she actually even took on Shiki's personality, but like Eri's personality rather, but like slowly she started to realize that like she was enough and that she missed being herself. And like that's one of the things that I love about this game, is that like there's so much about this game that's like
I mean, I will definitely say I did not see that twist. Normally the "you were dead" is like now a made this game's much older than that being a made fun of trope, because this game was back when, you know, Sixth Sense came out. It was actually you know, not joked about. Yeah,
so now I'm gonna fucking speed up the process. So like
wait, you didn't tell me about Beat, or does that not matter?
No, Beat comes later. So like you get 3 partners throughout this game. Shiki is your first partner, Josh is your second partner, Beat is your third. So like Beat now is without a partner, and the thing about that is if your partner dies, you only get like 7 minutes, I think it is, before you get erased too. So like Mr. H knows a way to get around that.
Oh, okay.
But here's the problem.
Oh, of course there's a problem.
When you get into the second so the second week, your partner is Josh, who is my favorite character, but like Josh had to grow up.
Partners change?
Your partners change.
Oh,
so like, but here's the thing, like Neku, I fucking feel terrible for Neku, because Neku, like, it's only supposed to be a week long, and Neku is subjected to 3 weeks. And like, so here's the thing, everybody that plays the game, your fee to play the game is the thing that is most important to you. So for example, like Shiki looked like Eri, and Shiki didn't even realize that her identity was the thing that was most important to her. So like when she woke up and she was Shiki, and she was Eri rather, like she was kind of into it and like, oh yeah, you know, like I'm this, like I'm super pretty, and like, you know, and like during the week she realized that like, oh, like who I was really what was important to me.
Right.
For Neku, it's his memory before everything happened. Like his thing is like his memory of how he died, and like how, like, you know, so like he does have some memory of like how he was before, but like he's missing this huge chunk.
He's missing his entire life.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, why do I wear these headphones? I don't actually know.
So like here's the thing about Neku, because he had to go into the next week because Neku is kind of a special case. So like because he played like a bunch of different weeks, his entry fee was different every time. So your entry fee is the thing that is most important to you. His entry fee for the second week was Shiki.
That sucks.
And like that's like one of my favorite things about Neku is how like he grows so much throughout this thing. Like this girl that he didn't give a shit about at the start became his entry fee for the second thing. Yeah.
My question then is, so is Shiki erased? How does that work? Is she just gone for the second week and gets to come back next week when she's not the most important thing anymore? Like, how does that work?
Okay, so here's the thing about the Reaper's game.
They're obnoxious?
Basically, like, even if you win, it's not a guarantee that you're gonna get a second chance at life.
Right, it's like genie rules, right?
Basically. So, like, so they only, like, for example, like, and I'm just making this up off the top of my head, they might be like, oh, only 2 people can come back to life. Only 2 people get a second chance at life. So, like, let's say 4 people win the game.
That week, and then they're like, oh,
yeah,
no.
only 2 of them. Yeah, so, like, technically, Shiki won the second chance at life. But Shiki became so important to Neku that she was Neku's entry fee for the second week. But here's the problem. Like, Neku, because Shiki was his new entry fee, he got his memory back. But with his memory, he didn't remember how he died. And, like, he got pissed off about that, and he's like, wait a minute, there's a hole in my memory. Like, if I'm gonna get my memory back, like, why don't I know that? And they're like, you know, oh, well, you must not have had it to begin with. So, like, now he gets what the game is, and he's trying to figure it out. So he goes and tries to find a partner.
Wait, hold on. You still haven't explained to me what happens to Shiki. Is Shiki dead or super dead? I'm calling it super dead. Is Shiki super dead or no?
Shiki is currently in limbo. Shiki is
okay.
Yeah, Shiki's
well, that's what I thought. Like, she might come back, right? They're like, listen, you were a fee, so just hang out in space and float around a bit.
That's basically what's happening with Shiki. So, like,
your Reapers are clearly just very bored.
Yeah, the Reapers kind of suck, but I love Karia and Izuki so much.
Oh God,
so, like,
they're so bored. Can we get them like a chessboard or something and stop playing games with people?
So now here's the thing. There's a whole new game master for the second week too, because the final boss of each week is the game master for that week. So Higashizawa, who is he
dead?
Guy,
is he super dead?
Yeah, like super dead. He got destroyed.
Yeah.
So now Neku is like, holy fuck, I need to find a really, like, he goes, I need, like, Shiki is in limbo. I need to save Shiki. Like, I need to find the strongest possible partner I can find. So he's like, oh, I'll just go to Hashiko because that's where I found Shiki. So that's where I'm going to find my partner. And he winds up partnering, like, this dude out of nowhere, Josh, his name is Joshua.
Right.
He makes a pact with him without ever asking. Like, Shiki was like, hey, let's make a pact. Joshua just fucking makes a pact with him. Joshua is a fucking asshole. Like, here's the thing. Joshua's my favorite character. Joshua had to grow on me. I fucking hated him at first. Like, Joshua's whole thing is that the thing that he teaches Neku is that, like, if you defeat the game master for that week, you have the option of becoming the game master. And Josh is like, oh, I want to jack Shibuya, which means, like, he wants to steal Shibuya. He wants to be the game master.
He's that coworker talking in riddles.
So I almost just spit out my drink. Yeah, basically. He's super fucking cryptic, and like, here's the thing about Josh. There are times where Neku tries to scan, and Neku can scan Josh. Which, if you remember, if you're a player...
I do remember. If you're a player, yeah. It's funny. You know, I wanted to comment on how plain ass he looks compared to everyone.
So, like...
he's just in pants and a shirt and shoes, and everyone's got, like, a million belts. We got purple shoes for reasons, you know, Shiki looks like a model. Rhyme's just standing there, she doesn't know what's up. She dies, now I know, so it kind of makes more sense. You know, with all the
so
death.
Here's the thing, like... Josh's entire week, like, Neku, like, fucking hates him. At some point, like, Neku is like, this kid's the devil. Because, like, there's a moment where, like, Neku is trying to explain to Josh how important it is. Because, like, Josh, like, I think I just said it, like, Josh, like, wants to quote-unquote Jack
Shibuya, yes, the cryptic...
He wants to be the game master.
Right.
And he knows, like, Josh knows things about the game that he probably shouldn't have. Like, you find out that he's, like, super close to Mr. H. And, like, through Mr. H, you find out that, like, Josh sort of, like, it's almost like a, what's it called? That M. Night Shyamalan movie. Fucking...
Which one?
The one with Bruce Willis.
The Sixth Sense?
The Sixth Sense, that's
the
exactly
one I just mentioned with the you know, you were dead the whole time?
Yeah,
I mean, if that's
so,
a spoiler, movies from 2006, if I recall.
Yeah,
Get
so,
over
like,
it.
so that's the thing, like, Josh sees Josh, even though he's alive, because there's a point where, like, Neku can fucking scan Josh, which he shouldn't be able to, because Josh is
so Josh is the opposite of Bruce Willis.
Yeah, so, like, that's the thing. Like, Neku, like, Josh and Mr. H became super close because Josh would show up and talk to Mr. H at his cafe, and, like, Mr. H obviously, like, knows about the game. If he, like, interceded and saved Shiki and everything from what was going to happen to her when, like, Azuki told Neku to erase her and everything. So, like, Josh would show up after school and, like, talk to Mr. H because, like, Josh could see the Yuji even though he was still alive. So, like...
Wait, are all the Reapers still alive?
Well, I don't think the Reapers are alive. I think the Reapers...
So Mr. H is... Okay, hold on. So Mr. H is not a Reaper.
So here's the thing. In the second week, Beat is actually a Reaper. Because, like, I think, like I said, like, if your partner gets erased, you only have 7 minutes.
So we haven't seen Beat this whole time. Wait, so is week 2 just Neku and Josh?
Yeah, week 2 is Neku and Josh, but here's the problem. Beat is an enemy that you face a couple of times.
Well, that sucks.
And Beat has a noise that's like this super cute like squirrel noise that like helps him out throughout the whole thing. And like the whole thing is like I think at one point like Josh is like, "Oh, do you know that character?" And like Josh and Neku is like, "Oh yeah, you know," like, and explains who he is. But like, so basically, like the only way that Beat was going to survive is if he became a Reaper. Right. And he went to Azuki and Karya and was like, "Listen, yo, that's how he is." Like, one of my favorite Beat quotes is in the 3rd week, but I'll get to that.
Okay.
So he's like, "Listen, I need to become a Reaper." So he becomes a Reaper, and by becoming a Reaper, he doesn't get erased. But now he has this squirrel noise, which, for the record, is Rhyme.
Wait, he has Girl noise? Oh, right, noise of the enemies. I was really confused
noise
for,
of
like...
the enemies. So he has this, like, basically almost like a parrot, like this squirrel-looking noise that, like, is constantly on his shoulder.
Oh, I need to look at
Yeah, it's actually super cute and I love it. But, like, it's rhyme. So, like, because he's trying to, the whole reason he becomes he becomes a Reaper is because he's trying to figure out how to bring rhyme back. But that's beside the point. So anyway, like, the entire time, like, before, like, Josh is, like, there are things about Josh that, like, he's sort of, like, Neku is changing. Neku all of a sudden understands how important other people are, and he understands friendship and, like, all of that shit. And Josh, there are times where, like, because Josh is, like, Josh has a hard time connecting with people, and, like, Mr. H tells you that, like, when he explains, like, you know, oh, well, like, Josh is alive, but he can see the Yuji, and he would show up and, like, talk to me about it, and, like, this isn't something that he could really talk about with people. Because,
so he's, like, a freak. Is this why you're bringing up Bruce Willis? He's, like, a psychic or whatever, a ghost seeker.
Like,
he's the kid. He's the little kid. He's the little kid. He grew up. He can still see ghosts and shit.
Like,
okay.
He should not see the Yuji, but he does. And, like, he's currently alive. So, like, there are times where, like, Neku actually tries to scan him a couple of times, and he can.
Right, you've mentioned.
But, like, yeah, so, like, but when he scans him, he sees little bits and pieces. And at one point, he sees Josh kill him. So, like, because here's the thing, we haven't seen so far, why is Neku in this game? How did he die?
Right.
So, like, he sees Josh kill him.
In what way?
He shoots him. So he has a gun and he shoots him. So
a gun.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, here's the thing, the game master of the second week, do you remember Minamoto that I told you about, the math guy?
Yeah, math guy.
So, like, every time Minamoto is around, Neku gets this headache, and he's like, why can't I remember anything, or whatever? So, like, at first he thinks Minamoto killed him, but then he sees Josh kill him, and he says to Josh, like, and Josh is like a fucking asshole this entire time. Like, at one point, like, Neku tries to explain to Josh, like, why it's so important that he beats the game because of Shiki, and, like, Josh listens to this whole thing, and he's like, okay, and here's me playing this tiny violin, like, why do you think you're so special? Every single one of us that's in this game gave up something we really love to be a part of it. Like, you're not special. So, like, yeah, so, like, here's the so he keeps getting this headache every time.
All right, I'm putting my guess out here.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping I'm wrong, and that Josh didn't just kill Neku to get in the game, because that'd be really shitty. By the way,
I'll get to that. I'll get to everything.
Okay.
So here's the thing. The thing about Josh is Josh wants to, like I said, Jack Shibuya.
Yeah.
So there are the game masters of every week. But there is this overarching character. So basically, like, you know how, like, I guess it's every tabletop RPG, but, like, I'll use Last Light as an example because we're all in it. So, like, you know how, like, Luke is our GM?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a game master for every game, but there's, like, an overarching thing. There's this person called the composer. And the thing in this game, and the thing about it is, like, the thing that Josh wants to do, Josh wants to kill the composer, because if you kill the composer, you become the composer. So, like, that's what Josh means by I want to Jack Shibuya. Like, he wants to steal the game from the composer, because the composer is the one that picks the game master and everything. So this game master throughout this week is the math guy, Minamoto. And like every time Minamoto shows up, Neku gets a headache, and Minamoto keeps making these like comments like, "Oh, so you're a player this week or whatever," and like, so at the end of the week, and like Josh keeps like making these comments like, because Josh is kind of worse than Neku as far as like connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Josh is kind of, like, a very awkward person. Like, he doesn't... Like, when Neku talks to Hanakoma, which, by the way, like, it's during this week that you find out that Hanakoma is Cat. Because, like, Neku, like, talks about how, like, he really, like...
Okay,
relates...
Yeah. Is this still week 2? Are we at the end of week 2 when this is all happening, or are we now in week 3?
This is like in the middle of week 2.
We're in the middle of week 2. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm rushing through.
No, you're fine. I'm trying to make sure I'm following the timeline, because this game keeps making me think, oh, this was a big climactic thing, we have to be near the end, then it's not. So I'm more asking so I understand where we are in the game.
Okay, but like honestly what you just said, that's basically the game. There are so many times during this game that you think, okay, we're at the end, and then something else happens and screws over Neku. So, like...
Well...
Yeah, so here's the thing about, like... So, like, Neku at one point, like, he doesn't really want to open up to Josh because he doesn't trust Josh. But, like, at one point, like, he talks about how, like, Kat, like, means a lot to him or whatever, and, like, Josh makes a comment about, like, okay, but, like, you've met him, you've been in his cafe a bunch of times, and that's how you find out that Hanakoma is Cat, and, like, Josh makes a comment about, like, of course, like, his work means a lot to you, because if Hanakoma can see what everybody wants and what everybody thinks, of course he can gear his artwork and his music and all of that toward what everybody wants. So, like, it's just, like, this weird thing, but, like, you know, that's how we...
Mr. H isn't the composer, is he?
What?
Mr. H isn't the composer, is he?
No, Mr. H isn't the composer, but, like, he, like...
He's a player who won the game?
He's not even a player, like, he's just a Reaper. He's, like... I'll get to that. Like, there's actually...
He's just a guy who's, you know...
He is just, like, he does actually have... I'll get to that at the end.
Okay.
But he does actually have his own, like, his own title. But, like, he sees the game, he knows the game, he's a part of the game, but he's, like, so above everything. But, like, Josh...
He's the composer's right hand.
Yeah, kinda.
Oh, okay.
But, like, he makes, like, Josh at one point, because the thing about Josh is, like, even though he's alive, he can see everything that happens. Like, they actually do make... It's actually funny that I used, because I didn't even realize it in my fucking drunken state, but now I'm thinking about it. Like, they actually made, a Sixth Sense reference, where, like, oh, he sees dead people. Like, even though Josh is alive, like, he can see the UG and the RG at the same time. So, like, and that's why he went to Mr. H to talk to him about everything. And, like, that's why Mr. H is so close to him. Because, like, he looks out for all of these kids. But, like, excuse me. But, like, you know,
Okay, so... I had to look it up. The Sixth Sense came out in 1999. This game came out in 2007. I was just curious, since they made a reference. I thought The Sixth Sense came out in the 2000s. That's my bad.
So, anyway. Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure Neku makes he sees dead people.
No, apparently, yeah. No, yeah. I could see it.
I'm almost 1,000,000%, like, I'm almost 100% sure that Neku says, so he sees dead people. Exactly that quote.
That's
so,
great.
like, yeah, so, like, so here's the thing, like, Neku is kind of an asshole. Josh is kind of an asshole to Neku the whole time. Like, there's one point where Neku explains to him, because Josh keeps trying to get Neku to do what he wants. And, like, that's kind of how you, like, I don't remember if it's in the first week or in the second week, but, like, you find out that, like, so long as one team does the thing, it counts for every team. And Josh is trying to tell Neku, like, oh, well, so long as everybody else does it, it doesn't matter if we do it. And, like, Josh wants to do a thing, like, he wants to get his phone upgraded at Hanakoma's cafe, and, like, he kind of tricks Neku into doing it, but, like, and that's how Neku, like, talks to Hanakoma about Josh, but, like, you know, Josh's whole thing, like I said a million times already, is that he wants to, like, take over Shibuya, and, like, Neku, like, talks to Hanakoma, and, like, Hanakoma is trying to be like, hey, listen, like, Josh is actually a sweet kid. He's just, like, really, like, not social. Like, he's super socially inept.
He's a dumbass.
Like, when it comes to, like, Josh is super fucking smart, but when it comes to people, he's not very good. And, like, and Hanakoma, like, Mr. H, is, like, the one person that, like, Josh really connects to. So, like, he tries to remind Neku, like, hey, you gotta put trust in your partner. And, like, Neku doesn't really get into that because, like, he feels like he hasn't been able to trust Josh because Josh
I don't blame him. He thinks he shot him.
like, he thinks Josh shot him, but on top of that, like, there have been times, like Josh wanted an upgrade for his phone, and he lied to Neku and said that, oh, you know, because they hadn't gotten a mission mail because Minamoto is a terrible game master, so, like, he hadn't given a mission mail, and Josh at one point lied to Neku and was like, oh yeah, we got a mission mail, we gotta get to Cat Street in such and such time, and Cat Street is where Hanakoma's cafe was.
Right.
Yeah, and Mr. H is the one that needs to give them the phone upgrade. So, like, Neku trying to save Shiki freaks the fuck out and is like, yeah, let's do it. And doesn't realize until they get there that he never felt the pain in his palm. He never got a mission mail. Like, he doesn't realize until after the fact. So, like, so Josh is really gaming the system the whole time. But, like, by the time that they fight Hanakoma, there's this moment where, like, they're going to lose, and Josh looks at him and he's like, Neku, I thought you said you couldn't fail. And Josh gives himself up so Neku could continue to save Shiki. And, well, like, it's
right. Time out. Yeah. If Josh is alive, does that mean he dies? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. Well. He gives himself up and he dies. So Neku can continue. But here's the thing. So the next week, the final week, I'm like, Neku is fucking done at this point. Because it was only supposed to be 7 days, and now he's got another week of this game.
Yeah, what got given up now?
Exactly. So, like, here's the thing. So, like, at this point, Beat had become a Reaper. Because so I think I said that before.
Yes, and Rhyme is his squirrel.
Yeah, and Rhyme is his squirrel. Rhyme is, like, so he has the squirrel pin, and that's Rhyme. So, like, so Beat decides, because here's the thing. So Shiki, so his memories was,
week 1.
Yeah, his memories were his entry fee for week 1. Excuse me. Shiki was his entry for week 2. Here's how much Neku has grown at this point. Neku can't find a partner because everybody else was his entry for week 3. Like, he finally realizes that he can't go through life and he can't go through this game alone. So he can't have a partner for week 3. So now here's
Told you, this is some genie rule bullshit.
Yeah, so here's the thing. He needs a partner to be able to play through week 3. So Beat
Mr. H is his partner. Oh.
so Beat, who is a Reaper at this point, says, "No, fuck that. This is bullshit. I'm gonna be his partner." So Beat gives up his Reaper wings to be Neku's partner for week 3. I fucking love Beat so much. Like, Beat is such a fucking silly dude. Like, there's this one point where, like, they get into an argument with Uzuki especially, and Beat is like, "Oh, because Uzuki says to them, like, 'Oh, you're on thin ice,' and Beat is like, 'Oh, we ain't on ice, yo,' because, like, Tokyo is so warm that there is no ice." And it's, like, I fucking love Beat. So, like, here's the problem. So, like, during week 3, you learn a lot of shit about Beat.
So is week 3 the last week?
Week 3 is the last week before we find out, like, everything that's going on, like, to the letter. So,
Okay.
because the previous week, Josh says to Neku, like I said, Josh gives himself up so Neku can continue. Because, like, Neku was like, "Oh my god, I can't do this, we're gonna lose." And Josh looks at him and he's like, "I thought you said you couldn't afford to give up. Like, if you give up on yourself, you give up on the world." And here's the thing about the story. At some point during the story, Mr. H says to Neku, like, the whole point of the game, like the title and everything, he says, "The world ends with you. The world is only as big as you allow it to be." And Josh kind of expands on that, and he says, "If you give up on yourself, you give up on the world." So the whole thing is that, like, the world is only as big as you allow it to be, and you only find out about yourself by letting other people in. And that's the thing about Neku, is that he was so closed off to other people, and he didn't open up to other people, that his world was so narrow. And, like, through this experience, he realized how much he really did need other people. And, like, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful message. But, like, so he's in the 3rd week, he's teamed up with Beat, who decides to give up his Reaper wings to become a player again in the 3rd week and become Neku's partner. But here's the thing about, like, you find out, and this is one of those things that,
Yeah.
everything about Rhyme makes me cry, but, like, what you find out
is this a mega sad? Are we about to have a mega sad about Rhyme?
So this is a mega sad. During the 3rd week with Rhyme, you find out that Rhyme wasn't just Beat's partner. Rhyme was Beat's sister. So I don't know if you remember, but, like, when I made the comment about, like, the shark, like, attacking them, and you hear, like, this, like, sort of, like,
Car crash.
So the way that Beat and Rhyme died is, like, Beat was kind of like the disappointment child. Like, Rhyme was like the prodigy child.
The troubled youth.
Yeah, so
child.
Beat and Rhyme were super close when they were alive. And, like, their parents constantly compared Beat to Rhyme. Because Rhyme was super smart, Rhyme was super driven, and, like, Rhyme did have plans for the future. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, I said that, like, Rhyme
didn't have plans.
Yeah, like, Rhyme didn't have plans. Like, Rhyme admired Beat because, like,
he wanted to be a skateboarder.
Yeah, like, Beat's whole thing was that he wanted to be this, like, world-famous skateboarder.
Right.
But here's the thing, is that Rhyme, like, Rhyme was the one of the two of them that had plans for the future. So, like, for example, like, and, like, that necklace that she wore was from Beat.
Right.
And, like, she didn't remember that Beat was her brother. And, like, so, like, the game master for the third week is Izuki, the really pretty, like, sort of, the really pretty blonde lady with, like, the sort of, like, maid outfit or whatever. Like, and, like, at one point during the third week, like, she says to Beat, she goes, yeah, so Beat's memory, like, Rhyme's memory of you wasn't her entry fee. Like, her memory of you was your entry fee. So, like, yeah. So, like, it's super fucking sad, but, like, all he wants is his sister back. And he
did he know this whole time that she was his sister?
He knew, she didn't. So, like, her memory of him was his entry fee.
Right.
Yeah, so, like, so it's super fucking heartbreaking.
What was her entry fee? Her future?
Her entry fee was her dreams, which is why she didn't remember anything that she wanted to do with her life. Right. So, like, yeah, so, like, it's super fucking sad. But, like, one of the, like, during the third week, there's this part where, like, do you remember when I said that, like, I think I said it, when, like, Shiki and Neku woke up under the overpass?
Yes.
Yeah, so, like, there's one point during the third week where they wake up under the overpass, and, like, excuse me, and, like, Beat is looking at, like, these flowers or whatever. So, like, there's this, like, the part where, like, where Rhyme dies, where Rhyme gets erased because of the shark. I think I said that there was, like, a car sort of...
Yes, there was a car noise. Yeah.
So, like, here's the thing, and, like, this is one of those things, like, that, like, if you play this game, I highly recommend you play it twice, because, like, there's a lot of shit that you don't recognize the first time around. And one of the things that I didn't realize until, like, the second time I played it is, like, because it's the DS, like, it's 2 screens. The top screen is Rhyme pushing Beat out of the way of the shark. The bottom screen is Beat pushing Rhyme out of the way of a car. That's how they died. Like, Beat ran away from home because he was so upset about his parents constantly comparing himself to Rhyme, and he didn't blame Rhyme, he blamed his parents. But, right. Like, he and Rhyme were so close that, like, right. Rhyme went out to look for him, and, like, it wound up to be a thing where, like, there was a car coming, and, like, he tried to push her out of the way of the car, and they both got hit, and that's how they died, and, like, and wound up in the game, and Beat is, like, looking at this, like, big vigil sort of thing that was set up for them. And, like, and it's super fucking sad. But, like, anyway, so they wind up, like, they obviously, like, go through the week, they, like, find out all this shit about themselves. Neku is a totally different person. They wind up at the end. And now it's time to face the composer. So the composer, I don't remember.
Dun, dun.
So, like, I don't fucking remember if I said about what I said about the composer, but, like, the composer is, like...
The super GM.
Yeah,
super GM.
The composer is the guy... Hang on, I'm taking a sip. The composer is the guy that sets up all the shots. So there's this dude, Megami.
Yeah. Sunglasses boy.
Sunglasses boy.
Okay.
So I personally love Megami. So here's the thing about Megami. Like I said, like, I kind of love all the characters in a certain way. Like, there's really not a single character in this whole game that I can say I fucking hate. But even the characters that kind of annoy me, I kind of love in a certain way.
Right.
So like,
well, those are kind of the best games, right?
Yeah. So
like if you hate a character because they're written well and you're supposed to hate them, that's good. But generally, if you like all the characters, that's a good sign. Good writing in this.
Exactly. So I understand where each of the characters are coming from. So so they finally get up to thing where so they're face to face with Megami, and
Winds
now
whipping in the battlefield.
Yeah, so
staring eye to eye.
Because now it's Neku and Beat, and they have to fight the composer. So now they're trying to figure out who the composer is, and who's the composer? Fucking Josh steps out. And here's the thing about Josh.
What? The
entire time, and now I didn't notice any of this until I played the game the second time around. Because there's a mode that you play afterwards. It's like the chapter mode, where you can go, you can either play, every chapter in order, or you can pick and choose which chapter you want to play. So, Josh steps out. And, when you first meet Josh, one of the things that he says to you is, oh, well, I'm just looking for a partner that can do a bang-up job, and you seem to be the one that can do it. And, I never noticed until the second time I played the game through in chapter mode that, Josh says your name a couple of times. He's like, oh, well, it's painfully obvious, Neku, and blah, blah, blah. And he says your name, 3 or 4 times before he ever actually asks you what your name is. And one of the things about this game is they do such a good job of doing that so subtly that you don't even recognize that it happens until the end of the game. So the entire time, Josh has been the fucking composer. And Josh appears to you as a teenager like you are, but he is not. He's this he's older, he's this being, and Megami, who's this guy that you think is your enemy the entire time, the whole thing about him is that Josh and Megami are at odds with each other. Josh doesn't want to be the composer anymore. And here's the thing about being the composer.
Well, last week he wanted to be the— I'm sorry, keep going.
Yeah. No, what were you saying?
I've been trying to wait to let you talk while I'm having a quiet outburst over here. Because fuck Josh.
Okay, so here's the thing.
No, fuck Josh. I don't care.
So
you gave me no reason to like him before, and now I definitely have no reason to like him now. You were like, oh, he sacrificed himself. I'm like, yeah, he was kind of a jackass. And now I'm supposed to be like, yeah, he did nothing. There was no real sacrifice. It was bullshit.
Yeah, so that's why I love Josh.
No, fuck Josh.
Here's why I love— No, seriously.
No, fuck Josh. Josh is dead to me.
You're right. Fuck Josh. But here's why I love Josh. Here's why Josh is my favorite character. I love Josh because he fucking, he got one over on me so well that I was like, oh, I kind of get it. But here's, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
Right.
So here's the thing about the composer.
Yeah.
So, Megami, the math guy.
No, wait, Megami's not the math guy. I thought Sho was the math guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sho.
Alright.
Minamoto.
See, it's your fault for using M names when you're drunk. He's Sho now.
Exactly, he's Sho.
So
Sho, the whole, during the second week, Sho was the game master. And there were so many times where, Neku would get a headache around Sho, and he thought that, Sho was the reason why,
he died.
Why he died. And there was this one moment where he sort of remembered that Josh killed
him, right?
Yeah, but he like, and he said to Josh, he's like, why did you kill me? And Josh was like, oh, Neku, I thought you said you didn't remember. But then at the end, like, Josh gave himself up because he
taunts him?
Oh, Neku, I thought you said you couldn't give up. Like, if you give up on yourself, you give up on the world. So that's why, like, and, like, you know, the whole thing happened. So, like, the reason why Josh is my favorite character is because, like, I grew to love him so much toward the end of his week because I realized, like, toward the end of his week, it felt like, oh, he really is just a misunderstood character, and he's just really, like, he doesn't really get people, and he doesn't connect with people, which I can relate to. And then at the end of the game, when you find out that he's the composer, and there are certain things that he says to Neku, like, there's this one point where, like, they're doing a mission, and it has to do with, like, you know, like, popularity and stuff like that, and Neku makes a comment about, like, oh, they're all sheep, like, talking about people, and Josh is like, oh, they're sheep, like, talking about, like, how people are with, like, certain things that are popular, and Josh immediately jumps on that and is like, well, maybe they all are, Neku. Here's the thing about Josh. Like, Neku started to grow a conscience, and Neku started to feel like he, like, started to connect with people, and and Josh and Megami were at odds, because Josh was the composer, and Josh didn't want to be the composer anymore. But the problem is that if he didn't want to be the composer anymore, he didn't name a successor, he just wanted to end it, which would mean that Shibuya would be destroyed, and he wouldn't, like, and Josh was being, like, super fucking,
an asshole like he is? Yeah, so anyway.
What? He was being what?
An asshole.
Yeah. So, yeah. Like, he and Megami was like, no, I don't want that. Like, and the thing about Josh also is that, like, the only person that he's ever truly had on his side that has been his rock and, like, super fucking loyal to him has been Mr. H. And even Mr. H was opposed to this.
Did Mr. H know he was the composer?
Josh felt kind of betrayed. Because, wait. Did
Mr. H know he was the composer?
Yeah, because Mr. H had his own thing, had his own title. Mr. H is the producer. So, like, in some ways, like, Mr. H, like, he might not be as powerful as Josh, but he has, like, a way more important role.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, like, so Josh felt heartbroken and betrayed because, like, Mr. H has had his back for so long, and now Mr. H, so, like, Minamomoto?
Math guy.
Yeah, math guy. So, like, the thing about math guy and, like, Neku trying to piece together his memories, for a while, Neku thought that math guy was the one that killed him.
Yes. You're drunk, but you've mentioned that, like, several times, yes. So that part we know. I'm still waiting for you to explain what it actually is.
Like, there are times where, like, math guy will make a comment, like there's this one part where, like, math guy says to Neku, like, oh, so you're in the game this week. And Neku has no reason to believe, and, like, you as the player of the game have no reason to believe that he's talking about Josh, because
you think it's Neku.
Yeah, because Neku totally shouldn't be in the game the second week.
Right.
Like, he already paid his dues.
Right.
So, like, there are a couple of times where, like, shit like that happens with him, with Minamoto, and you think that he's talking to Neku, and especially because Neku has this, like, splitting headache every time he's around math guy.
Right.
Because, like,
so I get the trickery.
Yeah.
So what is it actually? What is actually causing the headaches?
So Minamoto, so it's actually Minamoto and Josh being around the same place. Because
they can't be in the same place?
Yeah, so, like, Minamoto and Josh, like, when you find out that Josh is the composer, you get the full picture of what happens. And what happened was, Josh outright says to Neku, like, I needed to find a player that would play for me, and you did a bang-up job. Because when Josh first meets Neku, he makes a comment about how he needs his partner to do a bang-up job, so that's kind of like a callback. But, like, he says to, like, the whole thing is that, like, Josh, if the composer decides to step down without somebody else taking over...
Shibuya destroys itself.
Exactly. So, like... And Josh is being very selfish, and he doesn't give a shit.
Yes, he's a piece of shit. So,
yeah, and he just does not want to do it anymore.
Right.
Meanwhile, Megami, the guy with, like, the shades and everything, like, he loves Shibuya so much that he wants to make a wager against Josh. And, like, Josh needs to pick a player that will play for his side. And he chooses Neku because Neku doesn't like people, and he's like, okay, this is the perfect player for me. So when Neku starts to have feelings for Shiki and Rhyme and Beat, that's why Josh is his partner the second week. Like, there are certain things that Josh says to him, like, I think I mentioned it before,
to make
like,
him a,
when Neku's like, oh my god, they're all cheap, and he's like, yeah,
they are. Right,
like,
he's trying to make him a piece of shit just like him. So, what is Megumi's title?
Like, Megami is, not the producer, because that's Hanakoma. He's sort of, excuse me, he's sort of the second.
He has a fancy title, correct, though? He's not just a Reaper? Is the thing?
No, like, he does have a second title. I don't remember, I don't remember what it is because I'm fucking drunk. But
well, like... yeah, no, you've actually walked in circles a couple of times in the last, like, 15 minutes. So now my next question is, you said that when Josh and Sho were in the same area, it was causing a Neku a headache.
Yeah,
why?
So, like...
Because you still haven't actually explained why. Like,
okay, because Neku sort of started to remember what happened to him.
Okay.
But he didn't really, and he slowly started to remember, like, he kept saying, like, oh man, like, Josh is the devil because of Josh's personality, but he sort of remembered at one point that Josh shot him.
Right.
And, like, he says to Josh at one point, like, why did you kill me? And Josh goes, oh, Neku, I thought you said you didn't remember. But then Josh remembers that it was Minamoto, like, Sho, that shot him. And what really happened was...
Oh, Minamoto shot him.
Yeah, so Josh and Sho got into a shootout, and Josh shot Sho. And Sho, like, ran away because he was injured.
Okay,
and
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So these guys who are basically kind of godlike, they're just having a shootout around people.
Yes, because because Sho wants to take over Shibuya because he knows that Josh wants to just give it all up.
Oh, so Sho is a usurper.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sho is trying to be a usurper. And here's the thing about, like, and I'm gonna get to the ending in a minute, but here's the thing about it, is that, like, Josh feels super betrayed because, like, throughout this entire time that he's been the composer, like, Megami and Mr. H have been his rock. And for the first time ever, both of them have, like, argued with him because he doesn't want to do it anymore. But instead of naming a successor or letting somebody else take over, he's like, no, fuck it. Like, it's all gonna be destroyed. And especially Mr. H, that hurt him, that he would go against him, because like there's a point where Mr. H tells Sho how to beat Josh. It just doesn't, it winds up just not working out. So like he feels super betrayed. So like yeah, so anyway, like he works out, like Josh walks out at the end, and Neku is super fucking heartbroken because he's like, how the fuck are you the composer? And like and Josh makes a comment, because like I think I said this earlier, that like he made a comment about like he was looking for a partner that could do a bang up job for him.
Yes, which was the callback.
Yeah, and he says to Neku, like, I was looking for the player that would play for me. I might have said,
Right.
Neku, you did a bang up job.
Right.
So like you have to fight Josh. So like so you beat Josh, and now it's the ending. So like here's the thing about the end of the game that's even more emotional. So because you win, everybody gets a second chance at life.
Yeah.
And because you get a second chance at life, you all decide to meet up at the end to like what?
Happy ending.
Yeah, so like, but here's the problem.
But
like,
not Josh, right? Josh gets to fuck off, right?
So I'm gonna get to that. So
no.
So here's the thing. So like
no. What I need from this is a Conker's Bad Fur Day, where it's Josh looking pissed off in his stupid little composer throne. He's sipping a juice box because he's a child, and it just pans out to him being miserable forever. Cause fuck Josh.
I'll get to that. So anyway, so here's the thing, like Neku, like there's this like super awesome, like kind of deep like monologue that Neku does, but like during the first week, like, and it sort of plays like everybody's like biggest thing that they say to you. And like so like for example, Shiki is, and I'll just run through it real quick. Shiki's is like, once you realize that Shiki is actually Eri, like the way that she looks, like her thing is like she's afraid that if she is the way that she actually is, that you wouldn't be friends with her. Josh says to you, only by letting other people in do we find new ways to truly be ourselves. And Beat, his thing is that he's like, you know, I just want a chance to like, I just want you to give me a chance so we can like save my sister, sort of. So like, so the whole thing is like, you all make a pact to like to meet up with each other in the RG once you make it out. So like, so like it's a super emotional thing where like Neku like is talking to someone and you don't even realize who he's talking to at first. And like he makes a comment like, hey, I actually have friends now and we're meeting together for the first day. And he goes and he meets up with Shiki the way she actually is, like that nerdy girl that she is. And like, and she's holding Mr. Mew, so you know who she is.
Aww.
And like, yeah, like I fucking love all these characters. So like you meet up with her and you meet up with Beat and you meet up with Rhyme. But then Neku makes a comment about, like, I still can't forgive you. Like, I want to, but I still can't forgive you. And he's talking to fucking Josh.
Of course he is.
Yeah, and, like, the thing about Josh is, like...
He's an asshole?
So, like, Josh...
You're not selling me on this. You're not selling me. I want... Is he still the composer? Is he still the douchebag? Great.
So, here's the thing about Josh.
Yeah.
Josh, even though he didn't want to, he turned out to be very honorable, because, like, the whole reason he picked Neku in the first place to be his player...
Well, he thought he'd win it for him, and he didn't.
Yeah! Because Neku fucking hated everybody. Right. So he was like, oh, well, this is the perfect player for me. Because, like, he doesn't like anybody, and, you know, and then, like, the reason he inserted himself in the game at all is because, like, he started to see, oh no, like, Neku's starting to feel things for people. So, like, I mentioned earlier, like, there was this part where, like, Neku was like, oh, they're all sheep, and, like, and Neku was like, oh, well, maybe they all are Neku, and he's trying super hard to steer Neku back in the direction of, like, oh, everybody sucks. So, like, but here's the problem, is that, like, as Neku grew as a person, Josh started to feel, like, actual feelings for Neku and the rest of the group, and, like, kind of realized that he wanted to be friends with them too. So, like, the ending thing that Neku says about, like, you know, like, there's this part where Neku, like, at the end of the game, he says, like, you know, I want to forgive you, but I just can't yet. And, like, and it's kind of really heartbreaking. And, like, there's this, like, secret ending that you can unlock where Josh is actually on top of the, I think it's the 104, and he's looking at all of them meet up for the first time in the RG. And, like, there's this feeling like he really wishes that he could be there with them, but he understands why he can't. And Mr. H shows up, and he's, and, like, he makes a comment about, like, oh, you know, like, fucking, like, blah, 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 like, you're being sentimental or whatever. And he, like, flies off, and Mr. H follows him. But, like, and, like, one of the most tragic things about Josh is because, like, he feels so betrayed by the two people that were supposed to be his best friends that, like, without even wanting it to happen, like, he became, like, super attached to Neku, and he became, like, and he really wishes that they could be friends, but, like, because of the situation, he can't be.
Yeah.
And, like, so the whole, so, like, real quick, getting to the whole point of the game, there's this part very early in the game where Mr. H explains to Neku, like, the whole, like, the title of the game, The World Ends With You, like, he's trying to get through to Neku, and he's trying to tell him, like, he says, like, the world ends with you. The world is only as big as you allow it to be. And when you beat the game, it says the world ends with you, but then everything, like, switches, and it says the world begins with you. And the whole message of the game that, like, that super gets to me, like, and makes me emotional every single time is that, like, the world is only as big as you allow it to be. So, and Josh even says it to you at one point. Like, Josh really gets to the heart of it, and he says, only by allowing other people in do you find new ways to truly be yourself. And, like, that's the whole point of the game, is to open up to people and to, like, embrace the fact that you need other people in your life and you can't do this alone. And, like,
it's true, we are social creatures.
Exactly. And, like, this game, like I said earlier, like, when I was playing it, like, the first time I played it during a time that I really needed to hear that. And it was one of those things that, like, it never stopped being an important message to me, but, like, the first time when I tried to play, like, when I was playing it for Sam, like, to explain this to Samage, it, like, it became so, like, it hit me super fucking hard again, like, how much I needed to hear that. And, like, even now, like, just skimming through the notes to explain it to you, like, the second time, like, this is one of those games that, like, I don't give a shit if you just heard me explain it and, like, everything is a spoiler to you now. I can't possibly do, even if I was fucking sober, I couldn't do it justice. You need to play this game. Like, this is one of those games that, like, will always be super fucking important to me for that reason. And, like,
oh no, I love a game with a good message. Like, it's
yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, like, so that's The World Ends With You.
Woo! We did it, chat.
And we
Yes,
did it.
loyal listeners, you're not really chat. It's the habit after all the scrimstrams.
Yeah. So Jen, what did you learn about the world?
Fuck Josh.
Josh is my favorite character.
I didn't like him when he got introduced. I didn't like him at the end. I mean, it's cool that he kind of, like, learned his lesson, but I mean, like Neku said, like, it's like, man, like, I want to give you a second chance, but you suck. You kind of suck a lot. So, you know, and that's also a really good lesson. Like, dude, even in forgiveness, because he could forgive Josh. Like, I've forgiven shitty people, but then again, they're still shitty people. It's like, hey, listen, I forgive you. That's cool and all, but I'm good. I'm good with this distancing thing. You know, social distancing, I want, like, 6 times that. I want you just far, far away. So what did I learn? I learned that you're gonna cry every week of this game. You keep thinking it's over when it's not. That happened, like, 4 times in this recording.
Oh yeah, I think it was at the start of the 3rd week that there's a point where, like, Neku wakes up and he's like, what the fucking hell?
Yeah, right? Also, fuck Josh. And also, most of the guys, like, I don't even know whatever happened to Kyria or whatever his name is. He just vanished after a week. Karia? I never heard of him.
Oh, yeah. So, like, Karia, actually, like, there's a point, and I don't remember exactly what happens, but, like, they kind of, like, they do a thing, and, like, Karia, like, proves how, like, honorable he is. Like, because there's, like, this game or whatever. I don't fucking remember.
That's fine. No, it's just funny because Food Guy straight up dies.
Yeah, like, Karia,
I don't know.
Karia genuinely, like, is upset.
Karia lives his dream of doing nothing, it sounds like. He just...
Karia is, like, one of the best characters in this game. I fucking love him.
That's because you're a wombat. Don't even pretend there's not a bond there. I don't know.
Really, like, there's a part where, like, he's, like, he promises them something. I think it's during the 3rd week. I'm pretty sure it's Neku's partner during that week is
Josh?
No, not Josh. A Beat. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's during the 3rd week. And like, Karia promises them something, and it turns out to be a hoax, and Karia didn't know, and he's genuinely apologetic, and he's like, look, I'm sorry. Like, Karia, like, even though he's a Reaper, he's super honorable, and I love him.
Well, again, he just wants to sleep, it sounds like. So, yeah. I learned, all of these names I can't even keep up with.
Yeah.
And I also learned that, games with, like, cool moral endings are cool. Well, I already knew. I didn't learn that, but this is in the game, like, box of games with morals, and it continues to remind me how cool that can be. I love games that teach you something.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And also, people come up with weird ideas of what death is like.
Like, honestly, though, like, this is one of those games that, like...
No, I think I don't want to go through this. I hope death is not like this.
Honestly, though, like, every single time I think of this game or, like, go through this game, it's one of those things that I remind myself that I need to think of the moral of the story, like, a lot more than I do. Because, like, first time I played it, it was one of those things where, like, I really needed that message, and, like, even now, like, I've even talked to you recently about how I have a hard time opening up, and the fact that, like when you beat the game, like, the title screen pops up and it says, like, you know, obviously the world ends with you, but then there's this part where it changes and it says the world begins with you. And, like, that's so fucking powerful. And it reminds me that, like, I'm not alone, and I have you, and I have, like, the rest of the ferrets, and I need to open up more, because that's the only way that I can expand my world. And, like, it's one of those things that, like, even if you've listened to this episode and things have been spoiled, you need to play this game. because even if I was sober, I couldn't do this game justice. You have to play it.
Yeah. See, I can tell Jack has reached high drunk levels when they say the same sentence like 4 times. And that's okay, because we love you, Jack. We love you very much, and expand your worldview. So thank you all so much for joining us for Drunk Fandom. We don't do episode numbers anymore, so this is floating somewhere in the season apparatus. We hope you had a good time. Yeah, Jack was a wonderful... Jack is exactly what we expect from a drunk explainer, a drunk lore master. They forget half of what they've said this whole time, and they go eat some rice after, right? Have some rice?
Yes.
It's our secret hangover cure. Hashtag, we don't know if this actually works. Hashtag, don't quote us on that. That being said, hopefully you'll listen to some other episodes. If you were listening to this on Spotify or iTunes or all those other places, you can find more of this, more of our content. We do other podcasts, comics, lots of cool things, at fierceferrets.com. If you're on YouTube, you know what it is. Like, subscribe. You know the spiel. At this point, like, I feel like I have to joke about the spiel because everyone says it. You know? Like, comment, subscribe. Do the things. If you like us, do the things that help us. They're free. They really don't cost you nothing. Even just listening helps, though. I realize I don't want to sound like I'm asking a lot of you. Y'all are wonderful. So thank you, listener, for being sweet. Thank you again to Jack. I know we don't talk a lot about what our ferrets here do. They also do their own content as well. Jack is doing the streamings. That's at twitch.tv/Wombat Baron. Links to that are also on fierceferrets.com, including our own Twitch streaming. So we just do a lot of cool things. Go check it out. And if not, thank you for listening. Hopefully you'll listen to the other episodes, because they're pretty cool. I think they're pretty cool. And we'll be back next time, loyal listeners.
Yee.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching our video. Now to give a special shout out to our sponsor tier patrons. Neji Kuma, we appreciate all the support you give to us. You keep the channel growing and the content flowing. If you want to be alerted to when we post a new video, make sure to ding that bell next to the subscribe button. If you like the content you see here, then consider tossing us a follow on twitch.tv/fierceferrets.
And if you're really feeling the ferrety love, please consider supporting our work at patreon.com/fierceferrets. We don't make any money here on YouTube, so we rely on the generosity of our Twitch and Patreon subs, listed in these credits here, to bring more quality entertainment to you. And you'll get some great rewards for helping out. Thanks again, friends!
And we'll see you next video.